Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we all doing? I've got everyone in tonight, so I already seem like I've made a good decision moving the streams to Friday nights. I would say hello to everyone individually, but there's so many of you in tonight, so I'm just going to say hello all. Sorry about the little delay to the delay. I know I said I was going to start streams at 9 o'clock and it's now 20 to 10. Don't worry, I'm going to do the full 3 hours. But yeah, my wife was celebrating a party for her friend over Zoom. It was a school disco. 90s school disco. And they were having a disco while I was preparing the stream. So that's what you saw in the background for a split second. It would have gone on longer, but the actual disco actually ended just before we started the stream. So anyway, thank you for the $2 tip, Big Shark. That's most kind of you. So I need to load up a video because I'm going to be listening to a few videos while we stream today. Never not so clever this is. I knew there was a disco. Yeah, you weren't seeing things. Right, let me see. What were the videos? There's an Alien Covenant video by Your Movie Sucks I want to listen to, and Jurassic World, the Cynical Blockbuster by Films and Stuff. I'm just going to actually load that up. See if this works. I want to load it up on here. Yes.
Here's a divider.
Right. So I want to skip in this video to the point where he starts his video. But yeah, so we're going to be listening to Jurassic World, the Cynical Blockbuster video by Films and Stuff on YouTube, and I'll be discussing that. And we'll also be, hopefully if we've got time, because I might ramble on about this video for some time, talk about the Alien Covenant one, while I work on Dino-Defenders behind this blurred screen, because I'm working on some spoilers that you guys can't see. So just for some context, the Jurassic World, the Cynical... wait, let me close Discord. Jurassic World, the Cynical Blockbuster. So this is a 23-minute long video. Came out May last year, 2020. And I got to about halfway through this video. And then I decided, actually, I want to talk about it fresh. So I've waited until now. So Saw says, "Hey Jack, what program do you use to draw your Dino-Defender stuff? Always looks great." Photoshop. But I also do real watercolor backgrounds as well. Yeah. Anyway, so let's get into this. So we're going to listen to Jurassic World, the Cynical Blockbuster first. So hopefully you guys will be able to hear this as we go.
One of the more interesting results of big budget franchises lasting as long as they have is that they've gotten a lot more self-aware. Having decades of criticism being levied at them, these newer installments are often the first to point out the flaws in their series.
So it's big.
Now, genre satire, genre homage, genre deconstruction, these are nothing new. But what is new are franchises taking aim at their own series. We've seen films riff on or be inspired by Star Wars, but now actual Star Wars films are joining in on the fun. The sequel trilogy is actually a pretty great primer in the ways a series can reflect on its legacy. The Force Awakens is textbook pastiche, The Last Jedi is a subversive deconstruction, and The Rise of Skywalker is, of course, parody.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
I would say that the sequel trilogy is trash. Force Awakens isn't Pascal, whatever. What did he say? What was the word? I'm trying to rewind it and I can't. Press play. Why can't I press play? Jesus Christ.
At their own series. Actually a pretty great primer in the ways a series can reflect on its legacy. The Force Awakens is textbook pastiche.
Pastiche, that's it. I wanted to say pasty, but I didn't want to say that. Textbook pastiche. I would say The Force Awakens is a textbook rip-off. That's what I would say it is. Pastiche makes it sound too good. But anyway, carrying on.
The Last Jedi is a subversive deconstruction, and The Rise of Skywalker is, of course, parody.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
by pointing out the tropes of their genre, these films get a sort of get-out-of-jail-free card when it comes to criticism. For instance, is Snoke a clever commentary on the one-dimensional villains of the series, or is he just a Palpatine clone born to create conflict? There is no correct answer, as it varies from person to person and from film to film.
I made Snoke.
Man, Rise of Skywalker is such a brilliant parody. The best of these self-aware blockbusters are the ones that take their meta-criticisms and use them as jumping-off points to explore newer, interesting ideas. This is where the R-rated X-Men films really shine, providing thrills that their PG-13 predecessors never could. Not only have these movies
I just want to say, like, before we get, because he's giving context to his argument when he starts getting into Jurassic World here, and I just want to say that, you know, he's making it out like this is a new thing, and while it is for certain franchises, like maybe Star Wars, like he's bringing up here, I would argue that it's not exactly something new for the Jurassic franchise, even though that's what he's about to go into and look at Jurassic World. Because if you look at The Lost World, is definitely a parody of, or not even a parody, but like it has commentary on the genre that it's a part of and the series that it's a part of, with lines like Malcolm saying, "Ooh, that's how it always starts. Later there's running and screaming." You know, lines like that kind of basically hint towards the series as being self-aware. Like, and I know maybe people who aren't, I don't want to say this guy isn't, but people who like don't think about the Jurassic franchise 24/7, like myself and some other fans do. Maybe they don't realise that that's been a thing in the Jurassic franchise for a while. But yeah, I don't know if this guy actually thinks it's genuine parody. Never Not So Clever. So I think he's saying it as kind of like a jab towards Rise of Skywalker.
Transcended the older films in their series.
But yeah, my point is like The Lost World and even parts of Jurassic Park. Can't really think of them at the moment, but I'll probably think of one if I can. But I believe Jurassic Park is also the same. It pokes at some of the, well, I don't know, some of the tropes of the genre. Maybe I'll have to think. What comes to mind is you know, when well, it's more like where Ellie's saying to Hammond, you know, we'll discuss sexism in survival situations when I get back, that kind of thing. But actually it's more so in The Lost World. Like, The Lost World is the one that fully embraces the genre that it's a part of and goes, and the film series through Malcolm's character. And I'll get on more onto that later. If someone can remind me in the chat, say to Jack, "Mommy's very angry." Say that in the chat later on. And then I'll remember to bring up a point.
But they've also done so by building on the foundation laid out in these earlier films. The jokes in Deadpool and the heart-wrenching drama in Logan are only enhanced by our shared history with this series. The strengths of these films...
And I also just want to say that this guy, I remember watching this video, and the first sort of quarter of it is fine. I agree with a lot of what he says, so I'm probably not going to say too much at the beginning, but like then he seems to go off the rails in my opinion at one point, so we'll see how we go.
Films can only exist through the flaws that came before. At their core, these are films and filmmakers wrestling with their legacies, identifying the good and bad elements of their past, and trying to find a new way to make them compelling. But there is one blockbuster that points out the flaws in its genre, only to indulge in the worst tropes and ideas in the series thus far. A blockbuster that is aware of the issues that plague its series, but then doubles down on these issues going forward. Welcome to Jurassic World.
Bloody copyright music. I think he doesn't. I think he only does it there. Hopefully it won't get this live stream flagged.
Jurassic World is a 2015 sequel and homage to Jurassic Park that does two new things with this series. It provides a meta-critique of the Jurassic Park franchise, and it finally opens John Hammond's iconic park. These two new elements aren't exactly exclusive, as the life of the park feeds into the film's meta commentary. The core of this commentary is that this park feels different from the original. John Hammond's guiding hand is no longer there, so all the whimsy and wonder he brought to the park goes with him.
That first park was legit.
This lack of magic is most felt when the iconic theme music plays over a wide shot of the theme park. The success of the island is more important than the wonder of these dinosaurs. This is all intentional. The film is deliberately undermining John Hammond's vision.
That I completely agree with. Like, that is what the idea of playing the music over the park rather than like seeing a living dinosaur is, you know, in one hand it's exciting. Well, I mean, it's like meta, and so it has several layers, right? So, you know, Gray's saying, "I can't wait anymore," and he opens the door, and they've got the triumphant Jurassic Park music over the shot of the park that's open. At the time the film was coming out, obviously fans of the series had been waiting so long for the next film to come out, so Gray's line rings true with the fans, saying we don't want to wait anymore, like, to see Jurassic Park 4, and also it means what he means, that the you know, it's like the park is open, but it's not the actual dream that it's the nightmare coming true, essentially. But the twist on that, the play on that, is the fact that it's like there's the music, you know, triumphantly playing over the park, which is kind of a cynical thing. And then on top of that as well, there is an element to it of like Hammond's dream was achieved, and there is a kind of magic to it, as cynical and as, well, for lack of a better term, corrupt the park might be. You know, there is still that element of like, you know, Hammond's dream was achieved, and a lot of people have been made happy by this place, even though, you know, it's doomed from the start and it's not a good idea to, you know, it wasn't a good idea to begin with, kind of thing. But there is still that element of like, oh my god, the park is finally open, the dream has been done, and there is a kind of majesty to it, albeit a kind of dark one. It's on one hand, it's like one can look at the scene in the first film where Hammond is like, you know, oh, we have a T-Rex, and it's like, you know, and Grant's fainting because, oh my god, they've got like dinosaurs and they've even got a bloomin' T-Rex. How amazing is that? But then you think of the T-Rex scene, and it's like, when you watch the film back, he's like, oh, we've got a T-Rex. It's like, yeah, that's not a good thing. Like, you shouldn't have a T-Rex. Or like when Grant's like, you bred raptors, like, oh my god, these things are killing machines. And so the whimsical nature of the park quickly goes out the window. Doesn't stick around for long.
Now, John Hammond's character is one of the most interesting things about the first film. In Michael Crichton's novel, Hammond is incredibly harsh and egotistical. Yes, he loves these dinosaurs, but he mainly sees the park as a business investment, clinging to keeping the park alive even as his grandchildren are in danger. It should also be pointed out that in the novel, Hammond is killed by his own creations. In the film, Dr. Hammond is portrayed far more sympathetically, with the great Richard Attenborough injecting the role with a Walt Disney-level charm. While the character still has negative attributes, namely his treatment of his employees, Hammond's critical flaw turns out to be his infectious love for these dinosaurs. This love blinds him to the troubles within his park, ranging from the motives of his staff to what these dinosaurs really are. His wish to share these wonders with the world puts his loved ones and himself in danger, and he is shown firsthand how bad an idea Jurassic Park really is. There's one line in Jurassic Park 3 that sums up the conflict of this series rather nicely.
This was a stupid decision, but I did it with the best intentions.
The best intentions. Some of the worst things imaginable have been done with the best intentions.
Instead of being murdered by his own creation, Hammond instead has to suffer a far worse fate. He has to...
Some of the worst things imaginable have been done with the best intentions. It's just a play on the saying that the road to hell is paved with with good intentions. I believe that's an old saying. It's not like a new thing. It's like, I don't think Jurassic Park 3 was the thing that came up with that saying. But that's just a side note, though.
to give up the park. And by building this relationship out of love and wonder, the film ultimately holds more meaning. But this also sets up a roadblock for potential sequels. The park is a bad idea. Everyone knows it's a bad idea. And even the man who created it agrees that it should never open.
After careful consideration, I've decided not to endorse your park.
So have I.
So if we...
I just want to add a note in there. Yes, Hammond might not endorse his park, but someone else's. Do we know that Hammond would like to endorse someone else's version of the park? Well, according to Jurassic World, if we ignore all the explanations from things that are external media in the canon, if you just go by the movies alone, when Simon Masrani says that his dying wish was for Simon to open a park, he's endorsing someone else's version of the park. So it doesn't necessarily break from continuity when Hammond says, I don't endorse my own park. Or he's like, Mr. Hammond, I've decided not to endorse your park. And he's like, so have I. But then what if someone comes along with a better idea for a park? You might just condone it. So, there's that to contend with. If we're talking about the story, if we accept the story that we've been given so far, which is, Hammond's dying wish and all that sort of stuff. There's many ways to play on it. And what I've said about Hammond's behaviour and his wordplay in The Lost World sort of hints that he's got a few tricks still up his sleeve. So yeah, although I do understand the notion that when you watch Jurassic Park, the original film, the intention of the first film was solely meant to be, the park is not a good idea. Hammond doesn't endorse it, so that means he's lost his dream and he's never going to pursue it. But with sequels comes the inevitable. We're going to explore ideas as what if Hammond changed his mind, or what if Hammond changed his mind because of someone else, not that he changed his mind for his own park, that kind of thing. As Big Shark says in the chat, Hammond is shady. Exactly.
Ever want to see the park in all its glory, there can no longer be good intentions.
Welcome to Jurassic World.
There's only one character from Jurassic Park that returns for this sequel. It's not Dr. Grant or Dr. Sattler, Tim, Lex, or even the legendary Ian Malcolm. No, the only returning character is Dr. Henry Wu. Now, BD-1's role in the first film is incredibly minor. He has one scene as Jurassic Park's head scientist that the guests meet on their tour. In this scene, Henry has very little characterization and is mainly there for expository dialogue. He gets into an argument with Ian Malcolm over controlling the dinosaurs' chromosomes to keep them female.
Does somebody go out in the park and pull up the dinosaurs' skirts?
But for the most part, Henry is an eager scientist, another man with good intentions about to do tremendous harm. In Jurassic World, he now has a black Steve Jobs turtleneck. So yeah, he's bad. One of the major flaws in Dr. Wu's dinosaurs in the first film was his use of frog DNA to fill in the genetic code, leading to dinosaurs that can change genders in a single-sex environment. The shortcuts taken to create the dinosaurs had unforeseen side effects, eradicating all control they had over these animals. By Jurassic World, Henry has not learned his lesson. Instead, his continued use of other species for the dinosaur hybrid the Indominus Rex is the catalyst for the film's conflict. The Indominus Rex is the nexus of the film's meta-commentary on Hollywood sequels. A monster is being created only to boost profits. Skywalker...
Oh god, I accidentally rewound it. AKA the Spinosaurus in Jurassic Park 3. That's the... Wait, I've lost my bloody place, haven't I? Let me see.
You did.
To cater to... The shortcuts taken to create the dinosaurs had unforeseen side effects.
Wait.
One of the major flaws in Dr. Wu's dinosaurs in the first film was his use of frog DNA to fill in the genetic code, leading to dinosaurs that can change genders in a single-sex environment. The shortcuts taken to create the dinosaurs had unforeseen side effects, eradicating all control they had over these animals. By Jurassic World, Henry has not learned his lesson. Instead, his continued use of other species for the dinosaur hybrid the Indominus Rex is the catalyst for the film's conflict. The Indominus Rex is the nexus of the film's meta-commentary on Hollywood sequels. A monster is being created only to boost profits. Like many sequels, the Indominus Rex is built to please plenty of people. shareholders, sponsors, and most importantly, audiences.
So yeah, as I was saying, like that is specific. It's not just Hollywood sequels, which does play a part in Indominus's role in the Jurassic Park series, but specifically the Indominus Rex is a metaphor for the Spinosaurus. That's exactly what it was meant to be. Analogizing, if that's a word, like a living metaphor for the real world creation of the Spinosaurus for the Jurassic Park series, when it came to the marketing, promotion, and sale pitch for Jurassic Park 3.
The decisions to cater to all these people are what turn it into such an effective killing machine. The use of tree frogs to adapt the Indominus Rex to Jurassic World's tropical climate caused it to modulate its infrared output and trick Jurassic World's security. Additionally, the cuttlefish used to speed up its growth development gifted the oh-so-crucial ability to camouflage. Instead of taking responsibility for this being, Dr. Wu defends his decisions, shifting blame to Jurassic World's eccentric CEO.
Who authorized you to do this?
You did. Bigger. Scarier. Cooler, I believe is the word that you used in your memo.
Just as Dr. Wu no longer resembles his past self, Mr. Masrani is a shell of the man whose shoes he's filling, echoing Hammond's iconic words without the weight or love behind them.
Spare no expense.
While not an outright...
I just want to say here, notice how he cut out the last bit of the line there. He says Simon Masrani is the shell of John Hammond, right? Which is partly true, because the difference is Hammond in the first film was like very hands-on, you know, I want to be there when they're born, I want to imprint on them when they're born and all that sort of stuff. Like he'll tell Henry like, oh, why didn't you tell me I like to be here when they're born, and all this sort of stuff. We see him. He's very hands-on with the baby dinosaur. He likes to put on a show for people to show that he cares, which we genuinely do believe Hammond cares for the dinosaurs. He does, you know, he might be naive in his respect for power, but he genuinely likes to care. He has the good intentions, right? So Simon Masrani, his flaw is that he's not there. Like he's very trigger happy in terms of like he likes the idea of owning the park. He likes the idea of having a place where people can, like a resort, and he likes owning the resort, and he likes it to be the coolest place on earth, but he's not there much, and he's very off doing other things. As Vic Hoskins in Jurassic World says, like, you know, Masrani's so diverse, can't speak tonight, too much beer after that party. Hammond's so diversified, he doesn't even know what he owns, that sort of thing. It's like, that's the difference. So in that regard, yes. But then the guy uses the example. He goes, he even uses some of Hammond's lines, and they ring hollow. And he has him saying "spare no expense," but at the same time, he cuts out the next bit of the line where Masrani says "spare no expense." He used to say, like, you know, it's he's quoting Hammond there. He's not saying it himself, which is, I guess, I don't know if this guy's doing this intentionally, but I get the sense by the cut off of that line, that's what he's trying to make people feel here. But yeah,
the word that you used in your
but listen here.
memo.
Just as Dr. Wu no longer resembles his past self, Mr. Masrani is a shell of the man whose shoes he's filling, echoing Hammond's iconic words without the weight or love behind them.
Spare no expense.
While not an outright terrible person, his ignorance and negligence sets the park up for disaster. He is a consumer...
Yeah, so I don't know if he is doing that intentionally, but it does sound like that. It's like, I don't remember Mr. Masrani saying any other lines that were Hammond's that, you know, then ring hollow. Like, I agree, like, his actions ring hollow compared to Hammond's. They're both naive characters in different way. Hammond assumes he has all the control, and Mr. Masrani's problem is he doesn't care. He's like, the key to a happy life is to accept you're never actually in control. So they come at it, they have the same results, but from but come at it from different angles.
Of his own park, treating his helicopter rides as their own attraction. This consumer mindset, the desire for fun new toys, leads to disaster with his latest product.
You cannot have an animal with exaggerated predator features without the corresponding behavioral traits.
No, I don't know what I expected.
The last key player in this park's demise is Vic Hoskins, played gloriously by Vincent D'Onofrio. Hoskins' character is only interested in the dinosaurs to use them for military operations. Throughout the narrative, it is revealed that he is in cahoots with Dr. Wu to prepare a new dinosaur that will change the world of war. The entire park is a cover for malicious intentions, and when questioned on the morality of his actions, Henry responds,
"If I don't innovate, somebody else will."
If Jurassic World was just a story about bad people doing bad things, it wouldn't be that interesting. So in order to combat the inherent cynicism of its premise, it gives a character arc to Claire. If we look back at the first Jurassic Park for reference, the character she has...
This is what the point in the video where I think he starts to lose me, because basically he's going to talk about Claire's arc, and I feel like he misses some things here. I'm just going to rewind it just a few seconds to here.
If Jurassic World was just a story about bad people doing bad things, it wouldn't be that interesting. So in order to combat the inherent cynicism of its premise, it gives a character arc to Claire. If we look back at the first Jurassic Park for reference, the character she has the most in common with is Donald Gennaro, aka the bloodsucking lawyer. Like Gennaro, the part of the island Claire is most interested in are the profits, as it's her job to make sure that Jurassic World remains financed and running. The defining action for Gennaro...
I don't really see Gennaro and the Claire linkage outside of the fact that they're both interested in the profit side of things. The difference being that Claire is almost playing the role of Gennaro if the park was successful, and then Hammond put him in charge of the same things Claire was. But Claire at the beginning evolves, whereas Gennaro doesn't at all. Like, he's the only evolution that Gennaro goes through is he's very cynical of the park until he sees the dinosaurs, then he sees the profits, the dollar signs come up in his eyes, and he's like, ching, 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 and then he never changes. And then he gets scared when he sees the T-Rex, and he dies. So it's like, yeah, Claire has a little bit more going for her than that. She's a mixture of sort of like a dash of Gennaro, a dash of, dare I say, Peter Ludlow, a dash of Hammond, a dash of Ellie. She's kind of like a mixture. Never Not So Clever that says you could compare Claire and novel Gennaro somewhat. Yeah, you could, yeah.
Was that when the park fell apart, he abandoned Lex and Tim to seek shelter, resulting in his karmic death.
When you gotta go, you gotta go.
Claire, on the other hand, has a bigger role in this story, as the asset she's so keen on preserving breaks free while her nephews are in the park. Once this happens, Claire instead finds herself in the role of Dr. Grant. Both of these characters don't care much for children.
You don't know how old your nephews are?
Yet when these kids are in danger, they have to step up as their surrogate parental figures. This is made explicit in Jurassic World by Zack and Gray's parents sending them on this trip to cover for their divorce. While the film goes a bit too hard on Claire being uber focused on her work, I do think that this character turn is an interesting idea. Her world puts her family in jeopardy, and she's forced to transform to keep them safe. See, the island, as chaotic as it is a metaphor for life. The first Jurassic Park illustrates this rather beautifully, as it throws something horrifying at these kids that they're entirely unprepared for. But then, Dr. Grant steps in, using the knowledge and skills at his disposal to evade them from harm. From here on out, this lovely trio is stuck together, with the kids relying on Dr. Grant to get them back to safety.
He let us!
But that's not what I'm gonna do.
The three of them face off a series of obstacles, with the kids staying by Dr. Grant's side. With this protection, the kids get to interact with the dinosaurs, learning that not all of them are bad. Some of these obstacles they're not ready for, but Alan is still there to get them to safety. Finally, Alan succeeds, bringing the kids back to the visitor center and then leaves them for a brief moment in the kitchen. But this is Jurassic Park.
I'm not saying much here because he's literally just describing what's happening in Jurassic Park, and it's like, okay, yeah, we've all seen it here, so it doesn't really matter.
Nowhere is safe. For once, the kids have to fend off these dinos on their own, and using the skills obtained by staying with Dr. Grant, they work together and make it out alive.
Wait, they didn't... Wait, he said they obtained skills through having time with Dr. Grant? What skills? They didn't gain any skills from Dr. Grant. If there was a scene in Jurassic Park where, like, earlier on Grant does something to evade a dinosaur or something and it was replicated by the kids in the kitchen and it worked, then you could say that, but the kids don't gain any skills from staying with Dr. Grant. Right? Never Not So Clever. This is Grant taught them sneakiness. Yeah. I think he's a bit mistaken there.
Jurassic Park is a metaphor for parenting and growing up, creating a nurturing relationship for children in a chaotic environment so they can prepare for what the rest of the world has in store. But in Jurassic World, Zach and Gray need no preparation. Through some pretty heavy plot armor, they survive their first encounter with the Indominus Rex. Knowing that they're out there alone...
So I just want to say, you can't, if you're not watching this, there's a bit where he shows the Indominus chasing the kids off the waterfall, and then he looks down the waterfall and then turns around and it says on screen, "Lol, I'm not hungry." No, I think the Indominus Rex just wanted to kill. It's not necessarily hungry, but also the kids are underwater at that point, and the Indominus can't see them, and it's not going to jump down there because it would probably die. So, yeah, okay, whatever. That's a silly description.
Knowing that they're out there alone, Claire ventures out to save them and live up to Dr. Grant before her. But she doesn't. The boys make their way back to her by themselves. Even worse, Claire brings them back into danger after they already made their way to the front of the park. While the film tries to redeem Claire through her family, it doesn't give them the time to build their dynamic. So if these boys don't serve Claire's story, why are they even in this movie?
To serve Zach's story. Zach's story. No one ever remembers Zach. Zach Attack. Zach's story. The reason the kids save each other is because Zach steps up as the older brother to look after his little brother after he learns that his little brother has told him that their parents are getting a divorce, which is something he didn't even know was happening and he was blindsided by, and he realizes that he needs to look after his little brother. There's a whole speech in the back of a van about this where he says, I'm not going to go anywhere. Okay, this is like right near the end of the film. He's like, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'll always be your brother and all this sort of stuff. Whereas at the beginning of the film, he's on his phone. He's not paying attention to him and all this sort of stuff. It's Zach's arc. The whole point of it was to lead you down one road, I guess, thinking Claire's going to be the Grant. But, Claire needed saving herself and from herself, basically. And she learnt that through spending time with Owen, who showed her that the dinosaurs were actually animals. And obviously she knew they were animals, but they actually needed to be cared for, and she went through her own arc separate from the kids. Oh. So just on screen it says Part 4 Nostalgia, so he's probably going to make the claim here. This is where I got up to before I stopped the video, by the way. So I haven't watched the rest from here. Nostalgia, so I'm going to assume he's going to now label that the kids are merely there to be vessels to be the nostalgia. Let's have a look.
There are few things as nostalgic to me as the first Jurassic Park. It's not only a film from my
join the club.
childhood, but one about looking to the past and growing up. Jurassic World aims to tap into our collective nostalgia, mainly by viewing this newer park through the eyes of Zack and Gray. Every
Bingo.
scene with them is merely there to indulge in the glory of this park.
No. Oh, I mean, he said this park, so Jurassic World.
The narrative
yeah.
tells us that this park is bad, but their scenes showcase that it's amazing. This could set us up for a reveal like the first film, but not once do these kids question the attractions they're witnessing.
Yes, okay, he's just had a shot when he said that. They don't question the attractions they're listening. They're sitting in the gyrosphere bored looking at Jimmy Fallon give that stupid thing. And that's the scene where Zach's like, oh, Gray's like, where are they? Like, and they do question it later on when things go wrong. But at this point, the park's open.
Yes, the adults got caught up in the whimsy of the first park, but they also pointed out the cracks in the foundation leading up to the eventual chaos.
Yes, because they were scientists. In the story, they were scientists brought on to endorse a park, so it had not been opened. So the park wasn't open. Grant, Ellie, and Malcolm were brought on to be like, is this park safe, worthy, and given the green light by you guys so we can carry on with this, endeavor? Because as Hammond says to them, I've got lawyers in a particular pebble in my shoe as a lawyer, and I need to get him off my back. So they already know that there's some sort of lawful thing going on. Whereas Zack and Gray, one's a teenager, one's a child. The park's been open for 10 years, and why would they be sitting there questioning the legitimacy of this park at this point? Like, that's not the story they're telling.
These kids don't point out the problems because they're kids, and they're not here to serve the story.
Well, okay, wait. Did he just agreed with me but then said something ridiculous? What did he just say?
The eventual chaos. These kids don't point out the problems because they're kids, and they're not here to serve the story. The biggest example of this...
What do you mean they're here to not serve the story? They are. They're here to serve the story of their plot with Zack and Gray. Their story, which he's completely ignoring here,
is their journey to the first Jurassic Park. While on the surface, they're building up their brotherly bond, or something.
They're gonna cry?
In reality...
Okay, or something. No, that's the point. That's exactly the point. You just or somethinged it. So, you're arguing over nothing now. You're presenting nothing, sir.
Journey to the first Jurassic Park.
Okay.
While on the surface, they're building up their brotherly bond, or something.
They're gonna cry?
In reality, this scene is only there to reminisce in this iconic imagery. Ask yourself, what does this scene do besides remind you of the first film?
What does this scene do but to remind you of the first film? Yeah, okay, they're in Jurassic Park, fair enough. No one's arguing that scene when they go to the visitor centre and all that is not done for nostalgic reasons. At the same time, it also serves a narrative purpose because it gives Zack and Gray something to work on together. The old Jeep, as ridiculous it might be that they start a Jeep from that old period and change a battery out of that little golf cart into the Jeep and all that sort of stuff. As unrealistic as that is, that's narratively there to get them to start bonding and save themselves. I bet he doesn't even... Well, I'd be surprised if he uses the footage of the boys smashing through the old Jurassic Park gates, bursting out of them, laughing, going, ho, 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 like that as they escape on their own terms. So, just saying.
Despite Gray's genius knowledge of dinosaurs, not once does he say anything revealing about them. But if there's one character more connected with the dinosaurs...
maybe Gray's meant to be autistic, but he's obsessed with numbers, and he does like dinosaurs. But I never really got the sense that he knows... Well, he knows Ankylosaurus, but he's more obsessed with numbers than I'd say, like, the specifics, attributes and stuff. He does say, like, about DNA. He knows about DNA. He says that. And I guess when he sees the Indominus on the screen, he goes, that's not a dinosaur, so... But, yeah.
It would be... Now that we've gotten all of Jurassic World's characters out of the way, we can finally talk about its star. Owen Grady. Now,
Fuck yeah, Owen Grady. It's my favourite character in the new films, so yeah, I don't care if people think he's just some sort of like nothing burger of a character. I don't give a shit. He's got a gun, he's got raptors, he's awesome. Who wouldn't want to be Owen if you're a little kid? He's just kick-ass. And if you think that's bad, you're a loser and you're not Owen. Chad Owen coming out of the bushes here with his raptors is gonna, just shoot you with his big gun and his lovely vest top. Come on, man. Don't diss on Owen.
Owen is a bit of an anomaly for the Jurassic Park franchise. This is a series...
No, he's not. He's not an anomaly. He's exactly what the Jurassic franchise has always had.
At its best when children are in trouble and are screaming. Plus, character attempts to confront the dinosaurs seldom work.
Clever girl.
So it's weird to have a full-on Indiana Jones-esque action hero at the center of this movie. This decision is further complicated by the casting of Chris Pratt. Now, Pratt has made his fame by being the lovable goof.
I'm just going to say this. Everything Owen Grady does in the series, the way he acts, everything is pretty standard for a Jurassic series film, or for a Jurassic film. It's not really out of the blue to have characters like Owen in it. I mean, can anyone remember, the way Alan Grant, he was going to be cast originally as Harrison Ford, and there's all the near misses with the Jeep going down the tree, there's the electric fence, there's all sorts. He was an action character. Once the T-Rex got out and he was evading all the dinosaurs, he was an action character. He was shooting dinosaurs through glass with a shotgun, they're climbing all over bones at the end. There's nothing Owen does is really anything out of the ordinary for a Jurassic series. This guy's making it out like he is, how would you say, opening the Ark of the Covenant? like they make it sound like that.
Ball. Part of his charm is seeing Andy from Parks and Rec in a superhero blockbuster. Most of his bigger roles maintain his silliness, often using Pratt's character to poke at the conventions of typical male action stars, if not outright critiquing them.
And the prophecy states that you're the most important, most talented, most interesting, and most extraordinary person in the universe. That's you, right?
Yes. That's me.
So when he was showing that clip from the Lego movie, he had shots of Owen Grady, and it's like, yeah, what's your point? If you think that Owen Grady is this magical great character that is absolutely insanely amazing, which is an anomaly from the Jurassic franchise, that sounds like projection, because he's really not doing it. He's not really a magical character. Sounds like a bit of a wiener who wishes they were Owen Grady, complaining about Owen Grady being too good.
This is not the case here, as Pratt has transformed into all the conventions his previous roles lampooned. Whereas those characters go on journeys of maturity, Owen is perfect from his first frame. The character in Jurassic World that resembles Pratt's other roles the most is Larry, played by Jake Johnson. In a film about deconstructing the Jurassic Park franchise...
Owen is what? Perfect what? Screw this player. Why did it jump back to where...
of maturity, Owen is perfect from his first frame.
Owen is perfect from his first frame. Just listen to that. He's perfect. Oh, Owen. This guy loves you. I bet he has a Owen Grady body pillow.
The character in Jurassic World that resembles Pratt's other roles the most is Larry, played by Jake Johnson. In a film about deconstructing the Jurassic Park franchise, Larry feels like he should be more of a central figure. He's a fan of the first film, or Park, and is critical of the directions given by his bosses.
It was an eventuality, okay?
You should put that in the brochure. Eventually, one of these things will eat somebody.
He's a fun character, and provides some of the funniest gags in the movie.
Oh, no, I have a boyfriend.
But these gags are rendered useless by Owen's macho awesomeness, which is ultimately a regression of Jurassic Park's more progressive ideals.
Excuse me, sir? Who gives a flying F this Jurassic Park's progressive ideals. Screw that. Jurassic Park is a myriad of different ideals, or a melting pot of different ideals. So don't say that there can't be a macho male character in this series. Don't say that. Don't say it can't have it. Of course it can have it. Why not? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with you? How's your body pillow?
We can discuss sexism and survival situations when I get back.
Can we stay with you? I am never leaving you as long as you live. No, him!
The thing I take biggest issue with is Owen being the moral center of this film. Whereas the first film had multiple varying perspectives, each one adding new insights to the park, Jurassic World only ever has two perspectives. Owen, who is always right,
Evacuate the island.
and Corporate, who is always wrong.
We'd never reopen.
You can view this film as a flat arc narrative, with Owen raiding corporate influence from these dinosaurs, but that fails to account for his own crucial flaw. He's complicit with this system. Owen isn't a particularly deep character. He doesn't have any big aspirations or goals. He seemingly just really likes dinosaurs, so he works at Jurassic World. The film could give him an arc about learning to let go of these dinosaurs, but it never once challenges him on his blatant hypocrisy.
I don't control the raptors, it's a relationship.
Stay away from my animals.
While Owen may not think
That's not hypocrisy. That's not hypocrisy. He said, I don't control the raptors, which is meaning he's not, he's using a... Well, the raptors respect him as the alpha of the pack. And then that line which he's using as an example of his hypocrisy is him saying, stay away from my raptors. He's saying that to Vic Hoskins, who is trying to control the raptors. This guy, that's not a hypocritical line of dialogue. That guy's just basically completely straw-manning Owen's position there. And it's quite disingenuous.
and he owns the dinosaurs, he does think of them as family, so out of anyone, he has the best chance of doing so. This is put to the test when Vic Hoskins forces the raptors to take on the Indominus Rex. In the most revealing line in the film, he tells Owen,
"This is happening! With or without you."
Owen is the moral center, the audience stand-in, and he's forced to comply with bad intentions in order to salvage a terrible situation. I can think of no more apt comparison to modern blockbuster filmmaking. Despite his years of experience with these creatures, the raptors are not under his control. The secret DNA in the Indominus Rex being part raptor causes them to turn on their humans.
Raptors got a new alpha!
Now this is the most interesting set piece in the film, especially as the cameras on the raptors' heads are used for great dramatic effect. For Owen, this creates a major moment of reflection, questioning his bond with his raptors and whether they even care about him. But that reflection blows up before our eyes. In the end, the film reaffirms Owen's bond by him taking off Blue's camera. Their bond was real. The raptors can be controlled. And the problem was never with Owen, it was with another negative influence.
Right, he's on to part 6. I just want to say that part was a whole load of nothing. Like, that was a complete nothing burger of a section of this video. He basically just complained, where Owen's just a macho man and he doesn't have any flaws. It's like, yeah, so what's wrong with that? Malcolm didn't have any flaws in the first film. And don't tell me getting his leg broken by the T-Rex is him, not being sort of the Gary Stu type character. Because, I'm going to basically put words in this guy's mouth here. Because Malcolm's right about everything. He's right from the beginning and he's right at the end. And he doesn't change, he doesn't have an arc or anything. But you like that character, don't you? And he's a macho, sexy character with his shirt unbuttoned, and he's cool and suave, and you can label all the similar things about Owen Grady, outside of, I guess, the action hero sort of trope-ish nature to Owen Grady. You can't really label that at Malcolm, but he's the same. Doesn't have an arc, but I bet you didn't care about him. Because I bet you have your Malcolm body pillow too, or that's in the mail, is it? Yeah. But yeah, he basically said absolutely nothing about anything there, like about Owen. He just complained about Owen being too good, but what's wrong with that? It's like there's literally nothing.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Since the beginning of cinema, there have been mad scientists and monsters. Creatures and special effects built to terrorize the world and audience that deep down we secretly love. No genre has more love than movie monsters. It's why I'm so drawn to the work of Guillermo del Toro, who imbues so much passion into every design. Each of his monsters is a vessel for fear and meaning. Del Toro in particular tells stories about men and monsters, and how our fear in monsters pales in comparison to his fear of men. Jurassic World shares this fear, as its central monster is made by bad intentions. It causing havoc isn't a bug, it's the core design. This thing murders, and Dr. Wu doesn't care.
That's unfortunate.
As the focal point for the film's meta-commentary, the Indominus Rex is the cool but empty sequel. She's corporate interests manifested into a monster.
Spinosaurus. Ali says, Owen Grady, a Gary Stu. He nearly lost his head against a Dimorphodon. He's not a Gary Stu. Is this guy high? Yeah, also Owen sicks his raptors onto the Indominus and they both die, and he shoots the Indominus and then he ends up hiding, cowering inside a little box, and it's up to Claire to go and release the T-Rex to save them. But it's nice that this guy completely ignores all that, and then he goes, the film ditches its progressive nature of the original films in favour of this macho male figure. And it's like, yeah, the macho male figure also failed in this film, but you don't want to mention that part. Why? It kind of does uphold some of these progressive things that you're talking about, but why are you not talking about that? I think you're just disappointed with your Owen Grady body pillar. I feel like I get the sense that it's not as good as you hoped it was. You wanted it to be a little bit more hunkier, but that's just me. That's just what I get. That's the sense I get from this.
Yet despite their desire for a cool product, nothing about the Indominus Rex ends up cool. Its skin is pale grey. Its roar sounds more like...
Jurassic Hero asks, Jack, do you believe the Jurassic fandom is toxic judging by the video you're watching? No.
A screech, and it has an unsettling hanging jaw. Her appearance is more off-putting than intimidating. She's the sick result of a scrambled identity. None of this is a criticism. In fact, the idea behind the Indominus Rex is the strongest one in the film. There's an interesting story with this dinosaur. Owen as a character works the best when he's psychoanalyzing this beast, trying to understand and predict its behavior like a detective thriller. As Owen follows its destructive trail, he discovers that it's a truly damaged being. Its rampage is born from its apparent alienation. This creature has no idea what it is, and only by making its way up the food chain can she figure it out. She knows nothing but pain and destruction, spreading these things to everyone else on the island. And the film has nothing but contempt for her. This creature embodies the spirit of soulless sequels, so the only way to combat it is with the hearty spirit of the classic. I take no issue with this, and saving Her Majesty the T-Rex for this final battle is a very smart choice. What I do take issue with is this scene becoming a pure celebration of these icons, using the Indominus Rex as a punching bag. Just because it embodies and was made by bad intentions, doesn't make it evil. The villain in Frankenstein isn't Frankenstein's monster, it was always Frankenstein. This story makes a false association between the creator and the creation, using all its pent-up anger on the creation while the creator gets away scot-free. Cause remember, there must be a sequel. I'm not asking for much.
So come on, well, what about the raptors in the first film? Are you going to say that the raptors in the first film, you're going to have sympathy for them? The Indominus is basically just a giant raptor. I love the Indominus, but that's basically all it is. It's basically what it is in the marketing wise. It's bigger than a T-Rex, but essentially it's just one big giant raptor, and that's what's bad. That's its body shape. That's the way it acts. Its intelligence, everything. I kind of get what this guy's saying, but at the same time, the Indominus Rex isn't taken down by the T-Rex and Raptor. It gets beaten up by them, but it's taken down by the Mosasaurus, which is the new biggest creature in this franchise, and it was you know, it wasn't sold to the audience like the Indominus Rex was. It became awesome because it was just awesome. Like, I don't know anyone who doesn't like the Mosasaurus in Jurassic World. Even the people who don't like the movie like the Mosasaurus, as far as I can tell, who I've spoken to. So, unless that guy brings this point up, you know, I'd be surprised if he does, actually. Because, as far as I can tell, a lot of people tend to overlook that when they're talking about this part of the film. They always celebrate the T-Rex and the Raptor smashing up on the Indominus, but they forget the one thing that actually takes it down. Because after all the Indominus and after all the T-Rex and the Raptor fight the Indominus, they corner it, but the Indominus just gets back up and is ready to still fight. So it's like, yeah, it could only take the Mosasaurus to take it down.
A moment of sympathy where we acknowledge how much pain this being has went through. But instead, its death is a gag.
No, not a gag. It's the central point to the point that you're trying to make, that you're missing here. The Mosasaurus is the embodiment of the new better sequel. If you're saying the Indominus is the bloated metaphor for the bad sequel, the Mosasaurus is Jurassic World coming to kick its ass, because this isn't an ordinary sequel. This is the good sequel, and I know that's loaded with bias and subjective lingo there, but you know, I think people get what I mean.
Because this scene was never about the tragedy of the Indominus Rex. It was about how...
That first part was legit.
And with that, the film's core metaphor...
No, it wasn't. It was a little bit about the first part was legit, because you got the T-Rex and the Raptor, the two icons fighting the Indominus and cornering it. But what's the thing that takes it down? Where do they corner it to? The new thing. That's my point.
Fades away to the film's true message. The film sacrificed its own story to celebrate the original. Good stories breed greater stories. Whenever I watch a good movie, I'm motivated to make my own story and see if I can make it just as compelling. With these franchises, we want to see the same thing. We want to see filmmakers inspired by their predecessors to try to make something better. But Jurassic World...
Listen to the plinky plonky music. He's being serious, guys. A serious moment now. Come on.
Knows it can't top Jurassic Park, so it does the next best thing. It reminds you that it can't be topped. And it's scary how effective this cynical technique can be. Despite the end product...
What's wrong with the film making lots of money? He's when that money sound kicked off, it came up how cynical this movie could be. And it's like $1.67 billion. It's like, you haven't really made an argument at all as to why it's actually cynical, outside of the fact that the T-Rex and Raptor beat up on the Indominus. And you're like, yeah, but within the world of the story, the Indominus is the villain, right? They didn't have a moment where they showed the Indominus in pain or anything. The Indominus was designed, by his own words as well, was designed to be a killing machine by nefarious characters Wu and Hoskins. So the Indominus needs to die in this film. It's not like it's got to survive or have a sympathetic story. If it had a sympathetic story, it would be a completely different movie. You'd have Claire learn that these dinosaurs are animals, and she would have a moment with the Indominus where she sympathizes with it, but we didn't have that because the Indominus wasn't necessarily that character. I think when people read into the Indominus as like it's this sympathetic character, but it's not meant to be, really. It's this giant, unnatural killing machine. Kill it, is what I say. Let it die.
Can be. Despite the end product, I don't think the filmmakers made this film insidiously. It's clear from the behind-the-scenes footage that Colin Trevorrow and co. made this film to tell their own story. In the end, Jurassic World is a film made with the best intentions.
Ooh, see what he did there? Some of the worst things imaginable have been done with the best intentions.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Turns out I had a lot to say about this series, and if this video does well, perhaps I can talk more about the sequel. Till then, make sure you're subscribed with notifications, support us on Patreon, and take care.
Yeah, see you later, mate. Yeah, that was a good video to talk about. Thank you very much. Oh, that's the latest video he's done then. He did that scale and framing thing. Oh well, cool. That was interesting. Now, let's go to... history. Where are we at? Oh, so we've been going for an hour now. It's not bad, not bad. I think I might just take a little break from watching videos to just interact with you guys in the chat. And we'll put some music on while we do that. Where are we looking? Put some music on. No, that was good. That was interesting. I don't think he had too much to say though. It was a lot of empty rhetoric. But yeah. Pablo says Mummy's very angry. Oh yes, that was the thing. So like when he talks about like Owen Grady and being an anomaly to the Jurassic Park franchise, I mean I said a lot about how that's not the case in my opinion. But one of the other things I just wanted to bring up was like the dialogue in Jurassic World. Like Owen saying like, you know, what kind of dinosaur did they cook up in their lab, and all these sort of one-liners that I've heard a lot of people sort of complain about. Especially back in the day. Oh my god, what's happening with my camera? Jesus Christ. Better stop that. What's going on with that? Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Okay, good. We got that back. Okay, we have Mike. Oh my god, I don't know what's happened to my computer just now. No, I don't have OBS webcam. I want my general webcam. Why is it not working? Hello. This is a new webcam as well. You know what? Oh well. Okay, I guess I'm back. Basically my mouse just went dead, my mic just went dead, and my webcam just went dead. But the stream was still going, and I could still edit Photoshop. Everything was fine there. I'm just gonna save what I'm working on before I lose it in some weird freak accident. My webcam lights are still on, so it should still work. I just need to refresh it, basically. Deactivate, activate it. No? Not working? Configure video? No. I don't know. Let me see if I can do this. Where is it? I mean, cam's not overly important, but we'll see. Did that work? I guess not. Okay, well, we don't have webcam. That sucks. Is your USB port dying? Yeah, it might be. Just trying to work out where did I plug in the webcam. Oh, I plugged it in there. Let me try different. Let's try that. What a load of bollocks. Holy moly, there we are. Good God. Whatever. Alright. We're back. What a crock of shit. Yeah, it's plugged into a dodgy USB extender, so Unfitted Rogue says DILF. What can I say? Right, okay, well, we can get back to work. Back to work. Oh my god, well, that was a bit of excitement for a little while, wasn't it? Never had that before. I just saw, like, on the OBS, the blooming camera started going zzz, like all these colours. What an exciting night, hey? We've had discos, we've had technical issues, we've had Jurassic Park nothing burgers, videos, and we have Alien Covenant to come. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. Harrison says the system's going to be compiling for 18-20 minutes, or some of the minor systems might go on and off, but there's nothing to worry about. It's just a simple thing. Anyway, as I was saying, Owen Grady says lines like, you know, what kind of dinosaurs they cook it up in their lab, and all the kind of lines of dialogue that people say is like really tropey and one-linery. That line of dialogue is sort of always been in Jurassic Park. That's why you get like lines from Ian Malcolm when he's like, "Mommy's very angry," and you know, follow the screams and all this sort of stuff. And even in the first film when he's like, well, I mean, you could say "clever girl," or when the camera slowly zooms in on Grant, he's like, "You bred raptors," like that sort of thing. Unfitted Rogue says that was a Predator 2 reference. But yeah, I wanted to say that because he said something early on in the video, and I forgot what he said now, but he was talking about the dialogue and all that, and how it's not as good. as Jurassic World, or as Jurassic Park, or whatever. He says something to that effect. I know I'm completely straw-manning his position there, but that's why I said remind me Mummy's very angry, because I just wanted to make that point. That that I will admit, the dialogue in the original Jurassic Park is a lot more weighty and lofty in its exposition, in its execution, sorry. But the sequels don't really do that, and I guess it's up to your personal taste whether you find that appealing or not. I don't really care, because the first film's like setting up how the dinosaurs came back to life, and it's trying to do it in a very pseudo-scientific way, so there's a lot of, and obviously that's the first film in the series. It's laying down all the themes and all that sort of stuff. It's laying down the themes of chaos versus control, and the ethical dilemma and the moral dilemma that the characters are facing. So it's like, obviously, yeah, it's got like better dialogue in the first film compared to all the sequels, but when it comes to one-liners and the cheesiness, that's always been there as well. That's also in the original film. The car falls on Tim. I always bring this up, and he's like, well, we're back in the car again. And it's like, no kid would ever say that in a million years after what they'd just been through. They'd be screaming their little head off, or crying, or vomiting, or dying of shock. Legendary said, didn't critics also criticise the dialogue in Jurassic Park in 1993? Yes, Sickle and Ebert did, yeah. Yeah, they did. Move the screen over as well, because I'm drawing and it's slapping the wall, and I don't want that to be reverberating through the mic. But yeah, no, it's good to see so many people here tonight. Thank you to all the people who have made it to the stream who usually can't make it. It's good to see new faces, and I'm glad Friday nights are kicking off with a bang. With a bang for your buck. Crash says, with both Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, it's just funny how people forget how all the things they complain about are within the originals as well. Yeah. It's like, and it's all relative. It does exist in the older films, or in the first film. Obviously, more so with the first film compared to like the Lost World and stuff. It's like to a lesser degree, but a lot of people tend to forget like how much their childhood affects their viewing of movies, and it is really hard. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but it is really hard. Did I say perfect? Am I slurring my words already? It's beer and whiskey I'm drinking as drinking peach whiskey. A lot of people tend to forget how much they're affected by their childhood when they watch movies, and how they'll forgive movies because they watched them as a kid for things that they'll later complain that movies that they watch as an adult do. And it's like, okay, alright. You could just recognise that the thing exists in the film that you watched as a kid that you love so much. Belgium, yo. He says, great work on Dino-Defenders Extreme. Thank you very much, man. I wish I could show you guys what I'm working on. It's a pretty sick frame. But, alas, it'll be saved until the reveal in the episode. And that's the thing, like, I'm talking about all this, like, speaking of Dino-Defenders, I really do, part of me does wish that there might be people who are willing to do, like, video essays on Dino-Defenders, on the story and what they think the story means and all that sort of stuff, because I don't really know. I'm making this up as I go along. And that's like, I'm open for critique. Like, people can say whatever they want about Dino-Defenders. And I don't care. It's like, say what you want about it. That's why I'm putting it out there. I want to know people's thoughts on it. Harrison says, Jack, do you have a favourite xenomorph? When I was younger, it was the runner alien from Alien 3. As I got into my 20s, it sort of turned into the one from the original film. And then now, as I'm in my early 30s, it's funny enough, it's back to being the runner alien from Alien 3. Never not so clever at this as DDX needs more thick hotties like Faye. Crass said it would be cool to see a video essays on Dino-Defenders Extreme. I'll be intrigued on both sides of the fence. There is one review out there, I know that much. Like, one public review, shall I say. I've got private, anonymous reviews. I say anonymous, I know who sent them, but like, I've got reviews that they would rather remain anonymous, so I'm not going to say, but they've sent me a breakdown of each episode review that they sent me, which was lovely. And they were honest, so like, I got some critiques and I was like, okay, there's some stuff to weigh up here going forward, and potentially for the big final edit. So it was very useful to hear those opinions. Legendary says, no love for the newborn, Jack? Nope. Unfitted Rogue says, I like how the characters smoke in Dino-Defenders. You don't see that in films these days because of how sensitive the industries are. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's one of the other reasons I wanted to make Dino-Defenders, because it's like, I'm not an industry. I'm not like plagued by all the rules that plague big movies and that. At least I hope. I hope that this series doesn't break some sort of stupid rule that YouTube enforces later on down the line. But either way, let's say hypothetically if that happens, let's say Dino-Defenders is deemed for whatever reason unworthy to be on YouTube. I am planning on doing this anyway, but I'm planning on making a Dino-Defenders website, like a specific website for Dino-Defenders that'll have all the information on the series, behind the scenes, everything. Like, it'll include these live streams in a thing, in like a playlist stuff, but the actual episodes and the full feature, once that's done, will be in video play. Like, you'll be able to watch it on video players on the actual website, so away from YouTube, on their own thing. So there's no worry about those getting taken down or whatever. And I was also going to like see if I could approach some streaming services to see if they could put it up there, but I don't know if they'll take it because of the nature of it. But we'll see. It's all dependent on what the final like movie version is like when it comes down to it. So. Harrison says Clayton should review on Dragon Curve, and if he doesn't like it, just stop editing his videos. Clayton's the producer on the series, so he likes it. I've told him the story. He likes it. He really likes it. If he doesn't, I don't care. He's a Patreon, so I've told him he should stop paying me for the Patreon because I'm editing his videos, and he's paying me for that. So it's like. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's very supportive of Dino-Defenders, even though he might not be vocally about it publicly at this time. He's doing so with his with his $1. Behind the scenes, he's very much helping the creation of Dino-Defenders. Bounce some ideas off him and stuff, so. Ali says, will you delete this live stream or will you keep it? I'll keep this live stream. Technical issues and all. Is the Megaraptor a hybrid? Asked Belgium. I'm not talking about the Megaraptor. No spoilers. Krask says, yeah, the DDX website sounds cool. It would be funny if it harkened back to the old school Jurassic Park website with jungle sounds and whatnot. Yeah, that's that sort of thing I'd want to do, and I'd want to be like the character sheets and just really fill it out so it's like a full on. If you want everything to do with Dino-Defenders is on there, so you can find out every bit of information you could ever want about it. Would be on there. And I am making a special PDF document with some behind the scenes stuff once everything's done, which I'll send to some of the patrons who have supported the higher tiers. So there is that, but that'll probably be exclusive for them. Maybe at first, and then I'll see what happens, but I don't want them to feel like they're not getting something unique. So anyway, I should move on to this alien video. Let's get this up then. So this alien video is by Your Movie Suck, and I have to thank who was it in my Discord who sent this to me. It was Krask and Dr. Chicken. I have to thank for sending the last one. So thank you, Dr. Chicken, in my Discord. There should be a link to my Discord for this channel in the description below. So if you want to join, it is an open forum. You can all just come and join. But yeah, so Krask, who I believe is in the chat, thank you very much for sending this. We'll be discussing it now. Oh, Manchi says, Dino-Defenders Extreme has amazing animation, but because of no dialogue and me not reading that good, fast English, I need to stop the video and read it. And this isn't my thing, sorry. No, I get it. I understood that might be a thing for people who, you know, might not understand English. I knew that was going to be an issue, but anyway. Now this guy talks fast, so I'm going to have to pay attention. And turn the desktop audio up for you guys. You have to pay attention just so I know when to pause, because we're going to be pausing quite a bit during this. So
I just saw the
nope, I haven't got it in my ear. Here we go.
New Alien Covenant, and it was pretty fucking ridiculous. I mean,
oh, I just want to say, I don't want to start with ad homs, but just imagine this is Kermit the Frog doing the review.
I had fun and everything, but I don't think I would have if I had a serious investment in how much sense the Alien universe makes. Luckily for me, I don't really give a shit, and they can write the story however they want without making me upset. I was almost able to pretend as though the hilarious scenes in the film were actually meant to be that way. Like, there are several scenes in this film that you could throw into an Alien parody film and leave unchanged. Without spoiling anything, there is legitimately a Three Stooges level of slapstick humor within a scene that is supposedly meant to invoke fear and tension. And since I don't have any serious investment over how an Alien prequel is handled, I was able to enjoy it as a comedy. I did not feel as though my movie ticket purchase was a waste of money. And you know what? Despite plenty of unintentionally hilarious scenes, there are actually other scenes in the film that are done well. In terms of action, excitement, and overall entertainment, I'd probably say that this does a better job than Prometheus. But as an entire film, I'm not sure that's the case. One thing that I could at least say about Prometheus is that there was some breathtaking cinematography within the film, but with Alien Covenant, although generally well shot, I could say no such thing. Like, sure, there were some cool designs to be found that they copied and pasted from H.R. Giger's Notebook, but the cinematography itself just felt very low effort compared to Prometheus. Not only that, but all of the computer animation within Alien Covenant just feels incredibly outdated. Even something as simple as metallic textures found on the little robots and the ships just seems so incredibly unpolished. Like,
I think that was meant to be the point of Covenant, right? That wasn't meant to be as polished as Prometheus, because the Prometheus ship and the whole aesthetic of that thing was, it was like $1 trillion mission or whatever, funded by Wayland. And the Covenant is, we're on the road to the truckers in space lifestyle, which, you know, in Prometheus, space travel wasn't as abundant as it was. They were just building a colony on Mars, and this is 10 years later, and they're now starting to colonize planets further out. But in order to do that, the ships and stuff are a bit more rugged. They're not as smooth sailing as as Wayland's lavished ship that we saw in Prometheus. So when he makes the complaint about the metal not looking polished or whatever, it's like, okay, well, that's just the aesthetic of this ship. So fair enough if you don't like that.
even objects that we've more or less perfected at this point in the computer animation industry just feel fake, and it obviously doesn't help the experience of the film if these things don't look real. I don't know, maybe I just have too high of expectations for a $97 million Ridley Scott-directed Alien prequel, but unfortunately the final product often feels as though the animation department did not get the budget they needed. Anyway.
Which is ironic, because when he says that, he's showing shots of practical sets. So, yeah, they were real.
I'm about to start spoiler talk, so if you don't want to hear spoilers...
The spaceship in Covenant was... My friend is a CGI artist, and he had someone who worked on Covenant come and give a lecture, and they were explaining that they had to hold the Covenant ship, just the CGI ship, on several computers, like several computer memory banks, because it was such a large and complicated 3D model that it was so big that they couldn't hold it on one computer. It had to be on like several, and then run off all of those simultaneously into another computer so they could even animate it, because it was that complicated. And we're talking about the actual Covenant ship. So when you actually watch the film, I would argue that the Covenant ship is one of the best looking spaceships ever put to film. But that's obviously a subjective viewpoint. If this guy thought it looked unrealistic in the animation department, then I don't know what to say. That's his opinion.
Just skip to this part in the video. This is the type of film that requires me to talk about the plot in order to properly criticize it. So here we go. There's your warning. 3, 2, 1.
There's your warning,
so at the
Miss
beginning
Piggy.
of the film, we get a cold open with Peter Wayland and David. David's
sorry.
like, yo, dude, you're not immortal, and I am. Isn't that crazy? And Peter Wayland's like, this is a sensitive subject for me. Please stop talking about it. And then we cut to much later, and we see a big spaceship, and a jumble of unnecessary text appears at the bottom of the screen. You know, that really cliched effect I talked about in my World War Z review that only exists in movies because they think it looks cool, I guess. Obviously, I'm not saying that...
Well, some of the text at the bottom of the screen gives you information, like how many people are on board and all that sort of stuff. And I know he does go on to say, because I did watch this video earlier, he goes on to say, like, that the characters say dialogue that basically gives us that information anyway. But also, I believe it gives us the year, which is, I don't think one of the characters gives us the year. But Prometheus also does that as well, so that it gives you a time frame and a place. And I agree, like a lot of, especially like Michael Bay movies and stuff, use that trope to say where something's taking place. And I have a video actually on this channel about the ones in the Jurassic Park series that does it. They put it in Jurassic Park because you're entering a location that looks tropical, so it looks like it's on the island, and they want to clarify that you're not on the island. But whenever they go to a location that doesn't look like it's on the island, it doesn't have the text come up. And I know it's a little bit different here, but they just say like the ship, the number of crew, the year is the year that it's flying, and the what's it? It's mission, like its destination. Excuse me, its destination. So, hello, Mike Shatter.
That a movie's automatically bad if it does this, but when every single bit of information within that text effect is revealed through dialogue in the film anyway, why would you make the decision to take us out of the film's universe to give us information that we're already going to get?
Oh god, I've skipped ahead. Yeah, there's a bit of information there that it doesn't give it dialogue, I believe, which is the exact year that this mission's taking place, so...
World War Z review that only exists in movies because they think it looks cool, I guess. Obviously, I'm not saying that a movie's automatically bad if it does this, but when every single bit of information within that text effect is revealed through dialogue in the film anyway, why would you make the decision to take us out of the film's universe to give us information that we're already going to get? I don't know, call me crazy, but I think it's a little easier to get...
Krask says the first Alien does this as well. I believe so, yeah. I believe it does as well. I believe all the Aliens films do it, so... maybe it's a trope that the Alien films themselves invented? Could I be wrong in saying that? Because I know there's that idea that Ridley Scott put out there that the Alien film invented the film trope of the fourth act, you know, where the villain is dead and then they suddenly come back. I believe I've read or I heard somewhere Ridley Scott lay the claim that Alien is the first film that invented this, with like Ripley going into the Narcissus and making her escape, and then the alien is hiding on board after she thinks she's blown it up on the Nostromo. And then obviously films like Die Hard, where the guy comes back at the end, all that sort of stuff. But every Alien film has that you know, you think it's dead and then it comes back. Every single Alien film does that. So is there a film before Alien that does the text at the bottom of the screen to explain exposition? That I'd be interested in, because if it is the first that does that, then this guy definitely has no argument in that regard. So
sucked into a film's universe if I don't have notifications enabled on my screen while the editor's trying to DM me during the film. Whatever, I guess it didn't really matter too much whether I got sucked into it or not anyway, because this whole opening scene was absolutely atrocious. So essentially the Covenant is a colonist ship and everybody on board is sleeping except for the android David lookalike named Walter. The ship AI named Mother tells him that the ship needs a recharge, so he deploys the energy recharge sails. All seems to be going well, but then some random neutrino burst from somewhere in the galaxy causes a power surge, and this fucks up everyone's sleep pod for some reason, so Walter initiates an emergency crew revival. Pretty much everybody's able to get out of their pod except the ship's captain, who's still asleep and his pod won't open for some reason. So the other crew members are trying to pry his pod open, but then a girl just jumps on top of it. Like, I get it, the captain's your husband and you must be very concerned, but you are now lying on top of the pod that they're trying to pry open to save his life. But I guess it doesn't matter because they all witness him die in a fiery blaze as though it was not any kind of hibernation pod, but actually an incinerator. Perhaps Walter accidentally set the dial.
It is quite funny that she jumps onto the sleeping pod when he's like in there. But yeah, she's panicking and they can't get it open. I get it, but it's also funny.
To broil. Also, the captain was James Franco for some reason. Anyway, apparently that's just something that happens when you get a power surge, and now the second in command is the new captain. We then learn that because of this neutrino burst, they lost 47 out of the 2,000 colonists. How come they didn't get an emergency wake-up? I mean, unlike Passengers, this is a film where the pods actually allow you to go back to sleep. Could those deaths have been prevented if those pods were opened up? Because it seems as though...
I don't know. If 2,000 colonists... pods all woke up at once, is that the argument he's trying to make, or is he trying to say that only the 47 who died's pods should have opened? Because the Covenant ship isn't designed to have 2,000. It's a design flaw, right? It's not meant to have 2,000 people mulling about on the ship in an emergency. Could you imagine the panic that would ensue if there was 2,000 people crammed into those tiny quarters and stuff, like trying... It's like a big bus where you're asleep on it. I don't think it was designed to have like people all awake in an emergency situation, like 2,000 people, let's say. If he is making that argument, you know, in an emergency, just wake up everyone. It's like it's going to be pretty cramped in there, and not only that, people are going to panic. He only has the crew who know how to operate that ship and know how to handle the situation. The idea being that obviously the captain dies, so then someone has to take command who's nervous, erratic, semi-competent when he's actually, because he doesn't want to go to that. He wants to go. No, he's not competent. He doesn't want to go to Orogai 6. It's Daniels who does, isn't it? Yeah, he's the one who makes the rash decision to go to this other planet. Yeah, so sorry, I got my wires mixed up there. But yeah, the idea is that like an imbecile, for lack of a better term, is put in charge in place of James Franco's character. Aurum is the new captain. He's not as good as James Franco's, and that's, I think, the setup there. But yeah, I don't imagine 2,000 people waking up or running about this ship as it's hit by a neutrino burst. Like I can see more trouble coming from that. But yeah.
Though that would have been the case for the captain. Whatever, they're just peasant civilians, fuck them. So the new captain's like, what happened here and how can we prevent this?
So he was making that argument then. They're just peasants, fuck them. It's like, no, that's not how the ship was designed. Your complaint essentially then, this guy's complaint essentially boils down to that he doesn't like how the Covenant ship was designed, because if the Covenant ship was designed to house 2,000 people awake in an emergency situation, then sure, this guy's complaint would be valid. But if you look at the design of the ship, it's not. It's designed to have a small crew bust these people to another planet. So I'm not sure I agree with his argument there that they should have been they should have awoke.
From happening again, and Walter's like, it was a neutrino burst, it was completely random and there's no way we could have prevented it. And the captain's like, no, I don't believe in coincidences. You don't know what you're talking about, Mr. Android, who was specifically designed to know what you're talking about. Quick, everybody get to work repairing the damages or we're all gonna die. But the crew's like, we're not in any immediate danger right now. Can we at least mourn the death of the 47 casualties or maybe even our captain? And he's like, no, that's a direct order. You're not allowed to mourn even for 1 second. Hurry up, we're all gonna die. All throughout this intro, they paint the new captain as some absolute asshole. So the captain dicks off and the crew gets to work on a few things, and then a bunch of them have a toast to the old captain before ejecting his dead body off the ship. Apparently Danny McBride really loves Jack Daniels with the label covered. But even though they only took like 2 seconds to do this and immediately got back to work, the captain's literally watching them from a security camera in another room going like, they deliberately disobeyed a direct order, I'm so mad. Like everything this new captain does just perfectly fits the mold of some stereotypical villain. Not necessarily the antagonist in the film, but when you have a movie like this and the plot doesn't work unless people are stupid and things fuck up, he's pretty much the embodiment of a stereotype that you would expect fucks things up, but
he does fuck things up. He goes to this new planet. Did this guy watch Covenant? Like the Aurum's character does mess up. He gets a lot of people killed through his actions. Like he's not a good character. He's actually one of my favorite characters because of how flawed he is, but like he's flawed. He's not a good guy.
But at no point does he ever sabotage anything. I mean, I guess it's preferable that
Yes, he does sabotage something. He sabotages the exact mission they're on. They're meant to go to Orogai 6, and he sabotages that mission, essentially. I mean, sabotage, he doesn't go behind anyone's back except for the company. He takes the crew's don't want to go back in their pods, but he changes the mission's plan and goes against Daniel's advice in order to pursue a ghost, essentially, is the way they word it in the film. So yeah, this guy's, I don't know, I don't think he's remembering Aurum as well as he probably could have as a character.
he's not just a plot device. But after I watched the movie, all I could think was, why would they even make him such an asshole? Like, the problem I have is that he's not a realistic asshole. He's the kind of asshole that only exists in movies because plot devices need to be filled. But he didn't. And I can't understand why the film decided he should be so incredibly unlikable. You know, maybe during his death scene, you could have had a scene where the audience cared about someone dying. What was the point in spending so much time making sure the audience hates him? I don't understand. So anyway,
because he's not the good guy in the film. He's not like he's. What's a good way of describing Aurum? He's like he's irrational. He's paranoid. He's naive. He's not got really any good qualities. So like he's there to be a character that the audience does hate in a way. We're like, oh no, don't do that, you idiot! Like, you know this is wrong, and he's using his religion as an excuse for his poor behaviour, rather than actually taking up the responsibility as he should have and be an actual good captain and go, no, we're sticking to the mission ahead. Get back in your sleeping pods, you whiny bitches. Space travel is dangerous. Like, get back in your sleeping pods. We're going to Orogei 6. If you don't want to go in your sleeping pods, you're more than welcome to stay awake for the entire journey. And if you do that, then I'm going to be forced to stay awake with you. As your acting captain, or as your new captain, I'm saying no. That's what I would say. I'd be like, get back in your bloody sleeping pods. But this guy's not that. I don't know what this guy expected Aurum to be. It's like he expected him to be a different character. Like he'd seen Alien Covenant in another universe and was like, that's not the Aurum I remember. And it's like, no, this is the only Aurum we've got, sir. You're in dimension 1429X. Like, you're on Earth, mate.
Anyway, Danny McBride's outside doing some repairs on the energy sail, and I guess because he's in a certain spot outside the ship, some transmission just pops into his helmet. So he brings the transmission inside to show everyone, and it turns out it's someone singing Country Roads by John Denver. Nevertheless, they decide to trace its source through geometric data, and Mother Computer's like, yo, it came from this really sick, super inhabitable planet that's like 2 weeks over that way. And all the crew members are like, yes, let's check it out. Maybe it will be much better than the planet that we're actually supposed to go to. And since the original destination's still 7 years away, everybody's kind of like, yeah, I don't really want to get back in those pods again. I didn't realize they were actually pressure cookers. One of them actually asked, hey, wait a minute, I thought we scanned the whole galaxy for planets and that's why we're going to one that's still 7 years away. How did we miss that one? And the question is never answered. They get near the planet and they're like,
I'm pausing it there. The question was answered. David mentions later on in the film that the storms basically keep the planet hidden. There's a line of dialogue, I forget it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it up. Let me see if I can find it. Bear with me. Yeah, so David says when they're trying to get communication out of the thing, he says, "No, I'm not sure they'll hear you." He's talking about their communication to the Covenant ship through the storm. They could be quite severe, shielding the whole planet. And then, so the guys say, like, how long do the storms usually last? Days, weeks, months, but do keep at it. Best of luck. So when he's saying like they're shielding the whole planet from communications, it's like, so when they send out the signal scans for that area when they were searching for planets from Earth, mapping the area, that's why they didn't pick up the planet. So essentially it was answered later on in the film, but you were just so butthurt over what you were watching and the fact that you had to make a long YouTube review. You just didn't take note of that, did you?
Like, oh, there's a plasma storm in the thermosphere, so the Covenant stays up top while a smaller ship goes down to check things out. So at this point, it's been over half an hour and things are moving by at a painfully slow pace. In all seriousness, the first half hour of this film is an actual challenge to make it through.
In all seriousness, it's not. I love watching this movie. It's a great movie. But that's his opinion, that's my opinion. What's your opinion?
As soon as I noticed they were on the planet, I thought, oh, I guess things are actually going to start happening now. So I elbowed my sleeping friend next to me so he would wake up and not miss any of the not boring parts.
Doubt. I cast doubt on that. I doubt that he had a sleeping friend. I bet his friend was wide awake just watching it normal like he was.
They start walking around heading towards the signal. Some of them decide...
Especially 20 minutes into the movie. It's not long until they're on the planet. This guy's being quite hyperbolic.
To just hang out and explore, I guess. And I shit you not, one of them says, I gotta take a leak, and walks off by himself. At which point, anyone in the audience who's ever seen a horror film in their entire lives is now groaning inside their head. I gotta take a leak. I hope nothing bad happens to me. And the weirdest part about him going off to fulfill his role as Mr. Plot Device is that he never actually takes a leak. He seriously just leans against a tree and lights a cigarette. Are you ashamed that you smoke? Pretty sure there were other people in the group that were smoking.
He was ashamed of saying he smoked to the scientist who he was accompanying. You know, he says he takes a leak because he doesn't want to, like, I guess he doesn't want her to be pissed off that he's smoking on this new planet that they've just discovered. Like, she might have some things to say, or we don't know, he might have had a leak after the cigarette. I think once he was smoking and then he scratched his ear, she called his name, like, to come over back to him, and then he left that area. So if she thought he was taking a leak, then you know, there was an adequate time for her to think that he'd had the leak, so she called him over. And because he went and had a cigarette, maybe he was going to have a leak after the cigarette, we don't know. But that's a really nitpicky thing to complain about. That's really nothing. Plenty of people say they're going to go do stuff and then they don't do the exact thing they're going to do. So, there you go.
Did you not have to piss? Anyway, because he accidentally steps on some weird plant thing, these little tiny things come out and go inside his ear. Uh-oh. And the whole sequence is done in this weirdly over-dramatic way. Meanwhile, everyone else is getting closer to the signal, and one other guy in the group is just way too curious about things and falls victim to the same fate. Except instead of not even really being able to avoid it like that last guy, he just starts poking these things with his finger while his face is right next to it and
The other guy couldn't avoid it either. He didn't know there was pods with little spores in that would grow an alien inside your back, which would burst out a few hours later. This guy makes out like he could avoid standing on the pods. That would infer that he knew what the pods were and everything. He didn't know. He couldn't avoid it. Just as much as the other guy who's looking around the ground could predict that something on the ground would eject pores that would grow an alien in his back. Remember these guys had scanned this planet and it looked perfect to them. So of course they're not going to suddenly think there's going to be aliens jumping out of their backs anytime soon.
Practically just inhales them in. Like, yeah, I want to get a real good whiff of this unidentified plant species on this planet I've never been to. So then the guy who was smoking starts getting sick and the girl he was with brings him back to the tiny ship. He's vomiting blood and they get him into the quarantine medical room or whatever. Then he shoots blood out of his back and it gets all over this other girl's face. And then she locks them in the room as though she didn't just get blood all over her face. Then a little baby alien thing bursts out of his back, so she's like, oh shit, I guess I'd better go get a gun. Meanwhile, the girl in the room hilariously slips over the blood on the floor. She still manages to grab a knife, but because she sucks so much, this little baby alien manages to kill her anyway. So the other girl comes back with a gun ready to shoot this thing, lining up the shot perfectly, but then she slips and falls on the exact same pool of blood. It was genuinely hilarious. And as she crawls away in shame and tries to close the door behind her, she closes it on her own foot. I was having a blast.
To really scare people is quite difficult.
So then they run around this tiny ship and she shoots at it, but she sucks so bad that she blows herself and the entire ship up. So everybody else...
It's panicking. That's how I took the scene. I didn't find the scene overtly funny. I thought it was like an oh shit kind of moment. I thought my takeaway from it was like the blood on the floor was horrendous. It was like, oh god, there's so much blood on the floor that they're slipping on it like idiots, and they're panicking too much, and that's, you know, that's horrible. That's the way I took it. I was like, oh my god, this is hideous. Like, this little thing is just causing so much trouble that these people are panicking. Like, the girl gets blood on her own face and locks her friend, essentially, or a work colleague in the room, and she there's a look on the actress's face when she gets the blood on her where she's like, she can't believe it. She knows she's potentially infected. She also knows that she's just locked someone in the room and she's panicking. Like, the whole situation of them in the ship is just a clusterfuck of everything going wrong at once. And there is some, like, I guess there is some kind of like comedic element to that if like you find that sort of thing funny, which obviously I do. But at the same time, when it came to the context given in Covenant, I was like, I'm not finding this overtly funny because, I don't know, maybe I found the scene more tense than this guy did, but like the music with that sort of like droning, like as they were doing it, was really getting to me. The score was getting to me, so I don't know if I agree with him on it being like overtly comedic, but you know, each to their own, I guess.
Else comes back to it like, oh shit, how are you gonna get back to the Covenant now? And the other really sick guy dies and a tiny alien bursts out of him and nobody kills it and it runs away. And because of this weird storm that they decided to do all of this during, they can't get in contact with the Covenant anymore. Then the alien comes back and it's much bigger.
I love that insinuation. They do all this during that storm. What did he say? I want to say that exactly. What did he say?
Bursts out of him and nobody kills it and it runs away. And because of this weird storm that they decided to do all of this during,
because of this weird storm that they decided to do all this during, saying it like that completely overlooks the line of dialogue which I just brought up from David a few seconds ago. Where is it? What did he say? He said, let me pull up the history again. Where is it? Why did I close that? I should have kept that open actually. He said, I'm not sure they'll hear you through the storm. They could be quite severe, shielding the whole planet. How long did the storms usually last? Ask a character, and then David says days, weeks, months, but do keep at it, like insinuating that the planet pretty much has storms on it all the time. So no, the characters didn't. The characters didn't just decide to go down there during that storm because they thought, oh, you know, we could wait for better weather or we could just go down in the storm. No, they thought we can go down in this storm, and then they thought the storm would subside, but it doesn't. So it's like that's the issue. Is this storm is constant. And there you go. So what his framing there of that is wrong.
With the Covenant anymore. Then the alien comes back and it's much bigger and it kills one of them and eats Walter's arm and then runs away. Then some weird dude in a cloak shows up and it's David from Prometheus and he's like, yo guys, follow me. And everybody's like, well, there's no reason to trust you, but sure. So he brings them to his fortress where everybody believes
there's no reason to trust you, but sure. Oh my god, they have every reason to trust David because they don't have a ship, they can't contact their main ship. Like, they have no other reason but to trust David. And also, they don't know it's David when he walks up. And also, he just shot a flare which scared away the alien that was just attacking them. So, there's a little bit of trust, that, like, a little bit of something that they can go by to trust this guy. But they're essentially out of options on what to do. So, yeah, again, this guy's framing of this is completely off. Like, he's purposely doing it to make Alien Covenant sound worse than it actually is. And yeah, it's just classic YouTube critic technique, I guess, is the way I would phrase it. I see this sort of stuff happening all the time.
they're safe now, despite the fact that it doesn't have doors and it has an open roof. Not to mention the place is literally surrounded by dead bodies. So then everybody gathers around and David's like, yo, I came here with Dr. Elizabeth Shaw 10 years ago, but this deadly pathogen accidentally deployed as we were landing, and also she died in the crash. Oops, sorry. And then we get this really weird scene of David teaching Walter how to play the flute, and throughout this entire scene it seems as though it only exists.
I just want to see, when did this review come out? When did this review come out? Okay. Came out May 28th, 2017. So days after Covenant was released. So typical... Oh, I've got to get my review out. Alien Covenant's the hot new film that's out on the street right now. I can't let the film sit in my mind and get all my facts straight before, you know, land blasting it. I've got to get my video out. Got to make that moolah, which is true. He's got to make his money. He's got 1.1 million subscribers. I guess they just like to hear rantings about a movie that he's just seen, and hear a lot of rubbish arguments about why it's rubbish, basically.
To go, hey, look at what we can do. We can have Michael Fassbender and Michael Fassbender interacting with each other in the same scene with camera movement. Isn't that cool? Like, sure, it looks kind of cool, but it's not as though it only... And then we get this open roof, not to mention the place is literally surrounded by dead bodies. So then everybody gathers around and David's like, yo, I came here with Dr. Elizabeth Shaw 10 years ago, but this deadly pathogen accidentally deployed as we were landing, and also she died in the crash. Oops, sorry. And then we get this really weird scene of David teaching Walter how to play the flute. And throughout this entire scene, it seems as though it only exists to go, hey, look at what we can do. We can have Michael Fassbender and Michael Fassbender interacting with each other in the same scene with camera movement. Isn't that cool? Like, sure, it looks kind of cool, but it's not exactly new technology or anything. It's just kind of a useless, long, and awkward scene. Are we supposed to be impressed? It was also very strangely erotic. I swear to...
No, that scene wasn't purely just to show Michael Fassbender with Michael Fassbender. As much as they were showing off that they, you know, could do that sort of stuff, and it did look cool, as you said, Mr. Your Movies Suck. It was also to show David, a AI character, who had basically broken free from his strings. He'd got no strings to hold him down from Wayland, trying to see if Walter, his quote-unquote brother, was susceptible to the creative flow that he had obtained through his creation, you know, through his freedom, essentially, from Wayland. So after Wayland died, David was free to do what he liked, and he was seeing through trying to teach or to see Walter play the flute. He was seeing if he could find some kinship in him. That's why, you know, when he teaches David Walter the flute, there's a point where he lets go of the flute and Walter is playing it by himself, and then he's like, bravo, brother, you have symphonies in you. It's like, yeah, okay, so this scene isn't just about, oh cool, look, they're just together like the same actor. No, it's a character moment for both Walter and David. And these are things that, like, people always complain about. Modern films don't have character moments, and then when they do have one, you don't ever frickin' talk about them. My God. These people.
To God, one of the lines was David saying, watch me, I'll do the fingering.
Yes,
Meanwhile,
it was overtly
everyone
sexual,
else
that was the
splits
point
up for
as
no
well.
reason. Like, you've all clearly established that there's a major threat and all you have to do is wait. You don't want to maybe hang out near each other to make sure that you don't die? Nah, I hate those guys. I'm gonna hang out by myself.
They are near each other practically in this place. David asserts that it's safe. They have no reason to think otherwise. The only danger they are aware of, because David says that the pathogen isn't, you know, active anymore. They say, are we in danger? Are we infected? He said, you'd know by now. Obviously, they're going to believe him after they just saw 2 of their crew members get infected and then die pretty quickly. So they know that that's not happening to them because it's been a while. And not only that, they have, like, the woman who walks off has wounds to attend to, and there is clean water nearby, so she's going to go do that, which isn't too much of a stretch to believe, in my opinion. And what was the other point I was going to make? Yeah, there's only one alien, so technically they are, but they don't even know where that one single neomorph, they don't know that they think it's like some wild animal, right? They're not going to think it's going to actively come and hunt them down. They think, oh, it's just out there in the woods, and if we hunker down in here, we'll be all right. And they are waiting. That's essentially what they're doing. So
hang out near each other to make sure that you don't die? Nah, I hate those guys. I'm gonna hang out by myself. Oops. So a couple of them finally get through to the Covenant and tell them that there's been casualties. And Danny McBride's like, Mother, get the ship closer to the planet even though it's going to be right next to the storm. And Mother's like, we can't do that because it's not safe and the ship will probably break. And everybody around him pretty much agrees with Mother, but Danny McBride comes back with the most hilarious reasoning ever. He literally says, we didn't leave Earth to be safe. And I laughed out loud in the theater. And then everybody around him's like, yeah, I guess that's true. Let's go.
I doubt that he laughed out loud in the theater. Just judging by this guy's inflection in his voice, he doesn't strike me as the type of person who would go bah, ha, 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 in the cinema. He sounds to me like someone who'd just sit quietly and watch a movie.
Go do it, I guess. What? Meanwhile, back on the planet, people are like, where is everybody disappearing to? So they're like, we should go look for that girl from our group who is now mysteriously missing. So the captain goes to look for her by himself. So then David walks off and finds the big alien eating her remains. And they have kind of an intimate moment where it looks like they're going to kiss. But then the captain steps out from behind the corner with his gun drawn and David's like, don't shoot it, I just want to hang out with it. We're getting along really well. But then he shoots it. Then David starts freaking out like, how could you? It trusted me. We were gonna get married one day. Then the captain's like, David, you should probably tell me what's going on or else I'm going to shoot you. And David's like, oh yeah, sure, just follow me over this way by yourself. I know that's exactly what I said to your entire group earlier, and now there are more casualties and you're very suspicious of me, but do it again, this time alone. So the captain follows David into a...
Again, I've heard people complain about this sequence in Covenant, but they always miss the point. Aurum, the captain, in this situation, has a frickin' machine gun in his hands, and he just killed the Neomorph. He definitely feels like he's in control in this scenario. So when he asks David, a robot, he doesn't know all the ins and outs of David's character that like we know. See, he just saw a robot going up to the Neomorph, and the Neomorph not attacking him, and then he's talking about it like, you know, blow on the nose of a horse or whatever. And then when he goes, David, show me, or like he asked David like to not mess around because he said he's going to blow his head off or whatever. He says like, I'll punt. He said I'll stick a hole through that smug face of yours. Or he says a line to the effect of that. And then David, like, he acts like a robot in that sequence. Like, he even plays it up. He straightens his back up and he goes, okay, follow me. Like, and he walks off. So he's luring Aurum in by pretending to be this like soulless robot like Walter, who are designed not to hurt humans. Yet this guy completely ignores all that in favor of, like, you know, he is suspicious of David, of course, but he's holding a freaking machine gun in his hands. The power is in his hands. He doesn't realize what David's going to do. And also, to just add to that, to add to his point, which I agree with, when David goes come down here and it's like this dark, dismal basement where the eggs are, yeah, any sane person would be like, nah, I'm not going down there. I'm buggering off. See you later. Good luck with whatever you're doing there. But this is the Alien franchise, and much like you know, John Hurt's character scaling down that wall into that nest of eggs, and he's like, they look like eggs, and then he goes and sticks his face right in one. It's that sort of thing. Like, any sane person, if they were going down there and they were like, they look like eggs or something, you'd be like, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. Like, you wouldn't even go down. You wouldn't even go down. As soon as you see that alien ship, you're like, yeah, this is something that... And they were meant to be space truckers, like complete nobodies in the Alien universe in the first film, whereas in this film, he's the captain of a ship who's been devastated by... I'm talking about, like, at the moment in time when they go and see the derelict in Alien, they're essentially going off on, like, sort of a side quest from their from their mission, but nothing really bad has happened, whereas in this they've been devastated by all sorts, and Aurum, basically, I get the sense at this point in time, Aurum's just had enough, and he's just like, I want to know what's going on, and I've got the gun in my hands, so you better show me what's going on. And then he's an idiot. And I agree, like, him sticking his face in the egg is idiotic, but that's every character in every horror movie ever, so kind of beating a dead horse there.
a room with a bunch of alien eggs, and David's like, here, why don't you just stick your face really close to it? I promise it'll be really cool. And the captain actually does it. So then Danny McBride's bringing the ship down, and the remaining crew members are like, wait, where is everybody? We can't leave without everybody. Why are we fucking idiots? Meanwhile, David is throwing rocks at the captain, and the captain wakes up, and then a chest burster bursts out of his chest. David just awkwardly smiles and fondly looks at this thing bursting out of the captain's chest, and this weirdly inappropriate emotional music starts playing. It was such a strange and unintentionally funny scene that many people in the theater started laughing. So then Walter...
Again, I doubt people started laughing at that scene. I really do. Every time this guy brings up like some story from his experience at the cinema, I really doubt that happened. I doubt that people laughed. I really do. That sounds like you're making it up. The music for that scene is because we're seeing the birth of the xenomorph that we know. Not the exact xenomorph, but it's kind of like meant to be like the birth of David's xenomorph. And I would think that the original plan was to be like the xenomorph lineage that we saw going forward in the Alien movies. It comes from David's lineage of xenomorph, not the engineer's lineage. And so we're seeing, and it's meant to be like this kind of haunting moment for David's character because he's watching his creation rise, and it imitates him instantly after being born. Like it's an alien life form that he's birthed. His perfect organism is birthed, and it's like that's why that music plays. And I kind of liked it. I thought it was good. It was really kind of fitting. It's kind of dreamlike and surreal. But yeah. Anyway.
Finds some of David's weird shit laying around, and he's like, the pathogen didn't accidentally release into the environment. You did that on purpose, didn't you? And he's like, yes, I did that because I hate human beings so much. We find out that the reason why David hates human beings is because human beings are not immortal. He's like, humans are just bad at being alive, so I don't want them to live. Doesn't really explain why he's so obsessed with xenomorphs, though. By what unit of measurement have you determined them to be a better species than human beings? Then...
Because he created them. That's the reason. He sees them as a better form of human being because he created them, and he's created them to be immortal through not necessarily individually, but collectively. The aliens are a force to be reckoned with. Like, how long can an alien live for? Does anyone actually know? I don't. The films have never explained how long an alien can live for. I think there's maybe some speculation that the aliens in the first film is weakened by the end of the first film when it's inside the Narcissus escape pod, but there's no justifiable, or not justifiable, there's no what's the word I'm looking for, no actual like real evidence to suggest the actual lifespan of the alien. But it's mainly the point that he likes the alien as a life form because he created it, or at least he believes he created it. Many of us who like the Alien films and really dive into all this shit, some of us actually believe that David is imitating the engineer's technology and claiming it as his own, and you know that's hinted at through the lines of, like, you know, when he gets the Byron quote wrong, you know, where and the Walter calls him out on that and he gets angry about it. You know, that's it really. I think I've said enough about that.
David kisses him on the lips and stabs him in the throat. Then these two guys show up and they immediately split up. A facehugger shows up, but then the other guy stabs the facehugger while it's on him, and now he has a massive acid burn on his face, but he's fine. Then Daniels is wandering around by herself and David finds her and tries to make out with her. Then Walter shows back up because he wasn't actually dead, and Daniels runs away. David and Walter have a little bit of a fight scene, and Walter's almost killed him, but David's like, hey, why don't you hesitate a little and not actually kill me so I can say a couple sentences? Thanks. And from that moment, it's excruciatingly obvious us what's going to take place between the two of them. Wouldn't you know it, we don't actually see the rest of the fight scene, and we just see one of them show back up as everybody's leaving the planet. He has one arm, so it must be Walter, right? It was borderline offensive how long the movie pretended as though it was Walter. This is the film equivalent of Ridley Scott pinching your face and saying, got your nose, but you're an adult and you can tell it's his thumb. And without a shred of self-awareness, he just keeps it going and is like, no, see, it's your nose right here. I've got it right between my fingers. Like somehow he just doesn't understand that that only works on people aged 5 and under. The only thing this overdone cliche was missing was having a scene of the two of them going, shoot him, I'm the real Walter. Fuck right off.
I'm gonna throw a spanner in the works here, okay? I've been toying with the notion that, yes, David is the one who boards the Covenant at the end. However, there's several details in the film to suggest that it's actually Walter's body, but David's mind. And I don't know, this is why I always wish that we did get a sequel, or maybe there's some answers further along the line. But I don't think it's as cut as dry as people thought it was going to be. It's cut as dry as, like, we knew it was going to be David. David at the end, we all knew that was going to happen. It was like, it was obvious. But at the same time, there's several details in the film, and now I don't know if they're actually just mistakes, which I would assume the guy here in this video would just flat out say, yeah, they're just mistakes, like they didn't think too much into this. But I don't know. I know Ridley Scott too well to know that he can make mistakes, but at the same time, like, he does do very specific things. So, like, okay, I'm going to try and remember this because I'm going off memory, and I've had a beer and some whiskey, so let me have another sip. Okay, so we're shown that Walter gets stabbed in the neck, and we see that get healed, right? David heals, but then when we get onto the ship later on, I know, because then, see, it's mixed up, because then Walter is stapling a scar on his face, which you think would self-heal, right? But then also, when Walter is smashing David's head with a rock, his voice box is all messed up. But then when we meet up with Walter or David on the ship, his voice is back to being fine. So I feel like the filmmakers, while it is obvious, they blended some of the abilities of the two characters, or like what they should be. Like, David was stabbed as well several times in the chest. It seems a bit weird. It feels like, to me, and also, like, David shouldn't know how to work the Covenant ship, yet he just walks up to the place where all the colonists are being held, and he says the exact right code to open the door. So, like, I kind of feel like it's Walter with David's programming, and by having David's programming inside him means he's lost the ability to heal himself, so that's why he has to have his face stapled. That's like my theory, because that's the only one that makes sense to me. But I've never heard anyone, especially people who hate Alien Covenant, I've only ever heard them complain, oh, it was too obvious it was going to be David. But it was like, but was it really obvious that it was actually Walter with David's mind, or David's programming? How David managed to infect Walter's mind, however, is another story entirely. Because obviously there's a short window of time for this to happen, and part of me feels like when David proposes to Walter, the line, I believe, is from Dante's Inferno. I think it's from this, isn't it? I'm gonna have to look this up because I want to get my facts right. I think it's from Dante's Inferno. Bear with me. Oh no, Paradise Lost, that's it. Not Dante's Inferno. Paradise Lost. Sorry, I'm getting my books mixed up. Poems mixed up. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven is a line from Paradise Lost. And that's the proposition that David lays to Walter.
So everybody gets back on the ship.
Just before we cut away from that. He's like, what do you want to do, brother? Serve in heaven or reign in hell? Like that. And part of me feels like that corrupted Walter right then and there. And maybe even through that corruption, Walter basically broke like David and then started calling himself David. But there's so many details, like he knows how to operate the Covenant's ship, like he knows the security codes to get into the back room. He also can't heal himself, which is what Walter could do, but if he has David's programming, maybe he lost the ability to heal himself. Like maybe like accelerated healing, which is like, you know, because humans can heal themselves, so maybe there's a way of programming Walter that like in an emergency he can heal himself really fast. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but at the same time there are details, and maybe it's just like filmmaker mistakes, but then I don't know, it's more fun to speculate. I think that David at the end is actually technically Walter, and it's a like a bluff, like a double bluff. But yeah. Uplifted very good. That's a dank ass theory, Jack. Well, this is what happens when you sit on a movie. Well, when did this come out? 2017, 18, 19, 20. 4 years rather than 4 days. Just saying.
Ship and it takes off, but it looks like the alien is hanging onto the side. And what follows was a kind of fun but incredibly cheesy action scene. Daniels latches herself onto the outside of the ship as it's flying around while she's shooting at the alien. And somehow Danny McBride operates a claw attached to the outside of the ship and picks the alien up with it while he's piloting the ship. And while they're flying around crashing into things, she's literally dangling from a fucking rope flying around while she's shooting
I need to rewind this, because he's complaining about this action sequence. I don't really care if his complaints about this action sequence, because like we're just going to be battling opinions here. I like the action sequence at the end here. I think it's really well done. I think it's quite grounded in its execution. But he says one thing here that, like, again, it's the framing.
Incredibly cheesy action scene. Daniels latches herself onto the outside of the ship as it's flying around while she's shooting at the alien. And somehow Danny McBride operates a claw attached to the outside of the ship and picks the alien up with it while he's piloting the ship. And while they're flying...
That he turns the crane on, and I believe it's Daniels who operates the crane, if I remember correctly at the end there. Again, I want to find the evidence. I want to make sure I'm getting my facts straight here, because I don't want to just say something and then it's not true. Alien Covenant ending fight. Let's see if that brings up anything on YouTube. Okay, so get rid of the sound. Bear with me. So she asks him to turn on the crane. He presses the button for the crane. Oh no, actually, he unlocks the crane. That's what Danny McBride does. He clicks a button in the cockpit that unlocks the crane, and then Daniels picks up a thing. She's holding it in her hands. She's controlling the crane while the ship is flying. And bear in mind, the ship is level. It's not like it's going crazy at this point. And the alien, being a dumb alien that it is, because it's not a fully refined xenomorph as we'd see later on, like it's not very intelligent, this one, sees the thing open up like a big mouth, like the alien's big inner mouth, and just blindly starts attacking it like a zombie. And she's the one who puts it in the crane, and then she turns it, and that destables the ship, so the ship starts to fall, because the crane is now... It's not meant to be operating when the ship's flying, so the ship starts tilting because of the crane. That's what actually happens. Let's just go back and listen to what this guy says about it.
Follows was a kind of fun but incredibly cheesy action scene. Daniels latches herself onto the outside of the ship as it's flying around while she's shooting at the alien, and somehow Danny McBride operates a claw attached to the outside of the ship and picks the alien up with it while he's piloting the ship. And
again, a review done from 4 days after the film's release. Me talking about the film I've seen several times, but you know, it's years after it, and I even saw that when I saw the film, if I'm honest. But yeah, this guy definitely making shit up.
while they're flying around crashing into things, she's literally dangling from a fucking rope on the outside of the ship, and she shoots the alien. Seriously, watch this scene. It's ridiculous. It's a scene that feels as though it would be more appropriately fitting in Hardcore Henry. It was like a scene that was intentionally trying to be cheesy and hilariously unrealistic. It's as though this scene was meant...
No, it's greatly realistic. The crane, the weight is what tilts the ship, which makes her fly off the side. It's not like he's operating the crane while they're flying and he's grabbing the alien and he can't see where it is or anything. It's like literally, this guy is he's straw manning the scene from Alien Covenant. Like, he's going by memory after seeing it once. So...
meant to be played for laughs. And since I don't really care what they do with this franchise at this point, I sure as hell enjoyed it. So now they're back on the Covenant and they're...
It is obvious. I believe him there. Like, he really doesn't care what happens to this franchise at the moment because he's not taken note of what's actually happening on screen. I'm starting to feel like he was the friend who was asleep and he had a friend who took him to go see this. He was like, I don't really care about the Alien franchise anymore. And his friend was like, oh, we'll go see this one. You didn't mind Prometheus. And he's like, oh, all right then. And then he fell asleep, and then his friend described it to him afterwards, and then he was like, okay, I guess I'll go do a review of this now. And then that's how we get here. And then, you know, people go on the internet and make videos where they're like, Alien Covenant is a really bad movie, and like this guy, and a lot of what he says is not true. He's making it up. So, just, yeah.
Fixing up that guy's face in the med bay, and they're essentially just using a tongue depressor to smear around goo on the guy's face, but the goo is like a weirdly thick consistency that you'd never expect any medical staff to be applying on an open wound. Like, she's putting in a lot of muscle to spread that shit around on the guy's face. It was like she was trying to spread around some kind of gummy candy that was left in the sun for 5 minutes. It was very strange. Then some time has passed and Danny McBride goes up to Daniels and is like, hey, I took Mother offline. She took some damage in the storm, I guess, and so I had to restart her. But then later when the computer starts, an alarm goes off and is like, Daniels, get to the med bay. And she's like, why? And Mother's like, because there's an unidentified life form on the ship. So Daniels and Danny McBride are like, okay, well, let's try to shoot and kill this thing. Meanwhile, the other two crew members are in the shower fucking, and since they have music on, I guess it's supposed to imply that the music was so loud that they couldn't hear the ship's alarm. But you can very clearly hear the water from the showers running. How loud could that music possibly be, and how quiet could the alarm possibly be?
They're also snogging their frickin' faces off and they're engaged in sexual courtship, which, trust me, as someone who may have done that sort of thing somewhat in my life, you do get a bit blindsided to the rest of the world when you're engaged in that sort of act. I know this guy, it might be hard for him to believe that, but it's true. I mean, maybe one day he'll experience it.
Anyway, the now fully grown black-colored alien kills them both. No idea how long it's been running around on the ship. Anyway, then we get a really long and drawn-out scene that tries to recapture the feeling of the first films. Long story short, the alien gets the ship. Anyway, then no idea how long it's been running around on the ship.
8 hours, roughly speaking. 8 hours. Because Danny McBride says, Mother, I'm going to take Mother offline. She took damage in the storm. She'll be back up and running in 8 bells, right? Which I'm assuming means 8 hours. 8 dings, right? 8 dings on the clock, or 8. Yeah, in 8 bells. So, ding, ding, ding. 8 in 8 hours is how I took that. I think it was something like that anyway. Something around... Wait, I've got the transcript up, haven't I? Let's get that back up. Let's get that back up, because we'll find what he actually says. He says, she'll be back online at 8 bells. Okay, so I guess 8 o'clock maybe? Well, maybe I need to see a clock in it, but basically, she'll be back up online. Where is it? I just lost it. I took Mother offline. She needs full diagnostics. She got shit beat out of a storm, a lot of EM damage. She'll be back online at 8 bells. So I'm assuming that means 8 hours, right? But either way, it's a long enough time for the alien to become fully grown, which wouldn't take too long. But if it's been 8 hours, that thing's been hiding away and growing, then that makes sense. So I'm gonna basically take 8 bells as 8 hours, or give or take.
Anyway, then we get a really long and drawn-out scene that tries to recapture the feeling of the first films. Long story short, the alien gets sucked out to space, yay. Looks like everything's gonna be okay. So now everyone's going back to hypersleep. Daniels puts Danny McBride under and is like, good night. And then Walter tucks in Daniels. And then once her pod's closed and she's just about to fall asleep, she's like, oh wait, one more thing. Let me just now ask you about that thing that I've been talking about the whole movie that only Walter would know what I'm talking about, but not David. Oh no, it turns out you're David. It was annoying. So then David makes her fall asleep and then vomits up 2 alien embryos that he sticks inside with the human embryos in the fridge. And that's it. That's
the thing. So when she says, that log, she brings the log cabin thing up and David/Walter goes like, what? Like, it feels to me like David, if my theory is going to hold up, then it would have to be that David's mind is within Walter's body, essentially. That is the only way. But how that happened is, again, it's just pure fan speculation at this moment. Maybe if it was just done by a pure idea, maybe David's mind corrupted Walter's memory banks. I don't know. But yeah, if it's actually David, then how did his voice get fixed? That's what I want to know. How did David fix his voice? He was all messed up after Walter smashed his head in. And maybe it's just a mistake. Maybe his voice was meant to be messed up. I mean, they could have kept that. It still would have worked, because Daniels last saw David fighting Walter. So if Walter turned back up with a messed up voice box, it's like he damaged my voice box when we were fighting. It's like, yeah, maybe it is a film mistake. I don't know. But yeah, I'm with him. Like, no one didn't see that coming. So
the end of the movie. Now, obviously, I highlighted a lot of negatives, and although I don't really think that anything in the film was done amazingly, it was still very entertaining once you get past the first half hour. There's a reason why people keep wanting to see the next Alien movie. It's a fun setting to return to, even if it's handled really poorly. Like I said, I do not regret buying a ticket to see this movie, but if you're someone that can see yourself easily getting upset with Ridley Scott not giving a shit about what he actually does to the story, then maybe you should just stick with the first couple movies. And I'm giving this one a 5 out of 10. Hey guys, just letting you know, Synecdoche, New York Part 5 should be...
Okay, there you go. That was that. That was that review. Thank you, Krask, for sending that over. Interesting. A lot I disagree with. Some things I do agree with. Yeah. Don't know what else to say about that. I haven't really watched any of this other guy's reviews. Let's see. He did the Kimber video. Oh, I started watching that. Let's see. We did a commentary on Hulk 2003. Yeah, wonder what he thinks of that. He did a quick 5-minute video on Fallen Kingdom. Oh god, dare I listen to that. I don't know. Maybe I'll save that for another time. I can't be bothered to listen to another video of that. But yeah, no ill will to the guy. All the jokes and ad homs about the Kermit voice. I don't really mean it. I'm just joshing. Krask says, but yeah, you're welcome. I know it was horrible to put you through this. No, man, it was fun. It's just, yeah, because I'm a little bit over time. It's and I've had a bit of a busy day, and a bit of a disco-y day. I'm a bit tired, but yeah, we're all good. And I have actually done quite a bit to the frame that I'm working on, which is good. Open up something. Oh, I'm saving that until the end, Titan of Serpents. Zool sent me a video. Yeah, I haven't watched it myself yet, but I'm saving that until the end. But thank you for reminding me I need to load that up. Okay. That's going to be funny. I just saw a preview of it. I haven't watched it yet. I just saw a very, very brief preview of it. Whoa! I made a mistake. Let's put this full screen. Gary says, if Kate gets her clothes ripped by a predator, I'm going to go insane. I'm assuming you mean Kate from Dino-Defenders. So Jack, did you watch those 40th anniversary Alien shorts, says Harrison? Yeah, I watched them, yeah. I didn't think much of them. They were a bit naff. There was a lot of very stereotypical, it was very tropey, a lot of like, oh, we want to recreate things that we've seen in the films. But nothing of actual worth. I think actually one of them I remember being quite good, but I can't even remember what happened in it, so that speaks as much to that, really. Can't really remember anything from it, so... Krask says, I wish the Alien show we were getting was more inspired by The Expanse than what we're actually getting. Well, I mean, to be fair, judge it when by what it's like when it actually comes out. We have no idea really what it's going to be like, but I'm already not interested personally because I'm not a big fan of TV shows to begin with. So, and also Alien under Disney, I'm like, I don't know, just gonna maybe it'll be shot in China near the concentration camps or something. I don't know. Like Mulan. Hello, Mr. Wall Street. Have you been crunching those numbers, Mr. Wall Street? How are the game stonks going? Maggie says Mulan is shit. Yeah, it was. It was so bad. And it was bad because it was so hollow. That's the thing that got me. It was such a hollow movie. Yeah, just don't watch it, Gary. Don't even bother with it. The new Mulan is awful. And not only that, it's not just a bad movie. It's like they had to get permission from the Chinese government or something to like film near some of the Uyghur concentration camps. It's really like some really suspiciously awful decisions were made in the making of that movie. Not to mention how they treated the lead actress when she spoke out about Hong Kong. It's like Disney are not doing very good at the moment. Not good. Question Disney's moral judgment here. Big Shaq says it's a shame they'll never finish David's story. I don't know. The thing is though, it's perspective, right? I said that not too long ago. I'm sad if they don't finish David's story. But at the same time, if David's story ends with him going off into the universe with a load of alien DNA and a load like 2,000 colonists, at the same time, that's kind of a cool ending to end it on because it's kind of nightmarish. And if there's ever a feeling you want to leave the Alien franchise, a movie with is aside from, I'd argue, like Alien 3, or even Alien 3 is kind of haunting. It's like you want to leave with that kind of dark, sinister feeling, and you know, and it's not like I mean, all the films that come after it, like Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, it's like knowing exactly where the alien came from in those, like where the space jockey ship came from. A lot of the fans are complaining because they're worried that that's what Ridley Scott was going to answer. But if it is left on where it is, you know, where with David going off with the colonists, it's kind of like we'll never know where the space jockey came from, which is kind of preserving that mystery. So I don't know, part of me feels like it's actually a good thing. I'm starting to come around to the idea of the ending is David just going off and he's warning the company that he's doing this. So obviously when the company get wind of the signal on LV-426 in Alien, it's like that's why they give Ash the priority. Any alien life form you must find, because they're trying to search for David essentially, or anything that he's done, because they want to cash in on his the biological weapon that he's created. Like, they know all about this. There's still room for like them to make it. I think Ridley Scott still wants to make it. But we'll just have to see. But if not, yeah. Krask says Alien 3 is my personal closure. That's where the story ends for me. Yeah, same here. Same here. Unfitted Rogue says Jack doesn't like TV shows. No, I just have a bit of a weird relationship. I love some TV shows. I mean, like modern TV shows. A lot of modern TV shows, there's no ending. Like, they don't know how to end it, and they either have no ending or they go nowhere because they're cancelled. And if they do have an ending, it's very rare that they end it at the right place. Like, a modern example of one doing it correctly would be something like Breaking Bad, where they knew where they could quit while they were ahead, but at the same time they went and made Better Call Saul, which is like a spin-off, so you didn't have to watch that, but they kept it going. But like there's so many TV shows I've watched where like I just get fatigued from watching it, because I'm like, I can't be bothered. There's too many filler episodes. It doesn't really go anywhere. It's not really filling me with the joy. I'm more of a movie guy, so I fail to see how like an Alien TV show will capture my attention as much as a movie does, that comes around like once every 5 years or even longer. I like TV shows like Red Dwarf, where it's like you can just literally pick it up and go. But, you know, there are some exceptions to the rules. Like, I like Avatar: The Last Airbender, the show, and that has an ending. I know they made like Legend of Korra, but like not counting that. It's like I mean, in Legend of Korra even has an ending, but the Avatar: The Last Airbender has its start, middle, and end. And that works really well. Yeah, like Big Shark. You like the Avatar movie, but you're not excited for all the Avatar sequels, even Avatar 2. Like, I'm intrigued by Avatar 2, but I'm not like gagging to see it or anything. Krask says, so Jack in the next episode of Dino-Defenders Extreme, can you say much in regards to the exploration we witness? I feel like it's going to go in some cool directions, just a hunch. Can you say much in regards to the exploration we witness? What do you mean by exploration we witness? What do you mean by we witness? There's everything. There's going to be a lot of exploration in episode 4. There's a lot of exposition, I will admit, for then, well, not exposition, but almost like answers for exposition you may have. I know it's like reverse exposition. It's like it's answering what, revealing stuff that was kind of hinted at in previous episodes. And there's going to be a lot of action as well. Krask says, like, where they go seems like we are going to see some cool exploration in the jungle, and then also in regards to the characters. Sorry for being vague with the question. We're going to go to some interesting places in the jungle. And also we're going to the characters. I mean, I don't even want to say. There's so much stuff that's going to happen in terms of character development, and I'm trying to think of a way of wording this without giving away anything. I feel like the episode might be shorter than people are like expecting, maybe based on how long it's bloody taken me to make it, but that's just because obviously I've started a family and all that sort of stuff, and there's life gets in the way. But and there's a lot of animation, so it takes a long time to do all that. But I feel like this is going to be people's favourite episode. I think it's going to be my favourite episode. Maybe not overall, or maybe overall. I don't know. There's a lot that's going into this. And it's funny because, and I'll be quite vague here, there's some things that you guys in the chat, not tonight, but like in the past and on Discord, have said things in speculation on what's happening in this series and as jokes, and you've been closer to the truth than you actually realise, and you're gonna laugh, I think, when you see it play out, because you're gonna be like, oh my god, that's close to what I was saying. And I'll leave that there. You can speculate off that. I'm always true for. I've got less than 5 minutes. I've got about 5 minutes to go. I need to open up a frame to look at it. Never Not So Clever. They said I'll make bingo cards. Yeah, you should do it. That'd be fun. Crash said, in order to save Rose, she gets injected with DNA to heal her, and she becomes Uber Rose. David says, I looked at Dino-Defenders, it's got an IMDb page and other stuff like that. That's pretty cool. Yes, it does have an IMDb page. If you haven't given it a review, an honest one, go do so. I don't care what you rate it, as long as you, if you feel the need, you can do it, do it. Oh god. Never Not So Clever. This says, tell us something about dearly departed Kevin. How long was he dealing drugs at the Petri dish? Well, him and Buzz had a secret growing plot off in the jungle. That's where they were growing their own. That's why they had the poster for homegrown on his wall. But Kevin brought the seeds in on one trip and basically spoke to Rose about asking her about, you know, can we have some of this herb to help us relax on the long hours out here? And Rose she just didn't really care. She was like, yeah, you can do that as long as it doesn't impede your work. If it starts to impede your work, I'll kick you out of here. She also said that to keep them happy. She didn't want to cause any trouble or have anyone defecting and going off and telling people about their operations here. So yeah, sure, you can smoke weed, just as long as you do the work. Mac asks, were you considering creating a novella or short story taking place in Dino-Defenders Extreme Universe that does not spoil the future episodes but gets people more excited for what's coming or something like that? No, I don't have time to create a novella or a short story taking place. Okay, now almost done here. Now I'm going to have to hit the hay. Okay, let's blend all those layers. Gary said, would you write a prequel for Dino-Defenders Extreme? No. Doesn't need one. A sequel would be more interesting. While not directly linked to each other, I do have a story with dinosaurs out there. It's called Through the Dark and the Dawn. And I don't know how good it is because I haven't read it since I released it, but it's out there. It's published, self-published. You can go buy it in hardback or paperback or even on Amazon Kindle. I don't know how much money I make off the Amazon Kindle because I can't get into my account and I keep forgetting to contact Amazon to find out how much money they owe me. But it's out there for people to read. I would suggest getting the hardback because that's the ultimate version. You can find that on Lulu, LULU.com, or just search Through the Dark and the Dawn on Google. Yeah! Smash that like button. Okay, now I just need to grab a character. Oh, did I? Oh, that one. Ah, I did. Is it here though? That's the question. It is. Okay, use this as a marker. Okay, that's fun. What were you guys saying? Hello, Lewis. Sorry, I'm about to end the stream. You've just arrived, and I'm about to end. You should be able to buy that book. Let me see. See if I can find it on here quickly. Oh, actually, let me stop this music because we're going to be ending the stream. Here, I'm going to put it in the chat. But blam, there it is. Okay, so Harrison says, one last question. How long will episode 4 be? I don't know until it's done, basically. Okay, so Fazul right here. I'm sorry, mate, that I made you wait until right at the last bit of the live stream. But if I go to window capture... Oh, no, wait. I don't want to do that. That would be silly. I've got too many tabs open. Okay, so let's go to window capture, and we just go to this one. We don't want to blur for spoilers, but we'll get rid of those. Okay, so this is a video based on the last stream we did, where we watched someone make the argument that Blue should have been the one who pressed the button, not Maisie. So let's turn this up on my end as well. Okay, here we go. Let's watch this. See his face right at the end there. Did you see that? When she turned. See his face. Stretch out. That's brilliant. I like the head button. That is funny. Oh my god. Brilliant. Well done, Zul. Well done. Oh dear. Okay, alright guys. Thank you so much for coming to today's stream. I will catch you next Friday at 9 o'clock. It will usually be 9 or 10 o'clock I'll stream, but if it's 10 o'clock, if it doesn't happen at exactly around 9 o'clock, then it'll be either 9:30 or 10, but between then is when I start the streams. But it should be 9 o'clock each Friday. I always stipulate that because things happen at the beginning of the weekends. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, I will see you guys later. And thank you so much for everyone who turned up. And thank you, Big Shark, for the tip. I will see you guys later. Bye-bye. I'm not gone. Where's the button? Oh my god, it's behind the screen. I couldn't see it. I went to go click it and it didn't go. Alright, see you later, guys. Bye.